All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Wednesday, February 26th, 8:49 a.m. I know I'm a little late. I love the comments when I'm late. Like the types of things you guys come up with in the chat for why I'm late is it's actually the funniest thing in the world. My sister is sick for a second day in a row, so she was home from work again. So I was just helping her out a little bit this morning, which is why I'm late. I can't believe she got sick, bro. She hasn't gotten sick in almost a year and a half. I haven't gotten sick in like 2 years, but like once you get sick, everyone gets sick. The reason Robinhood Weekly didn't happen on Monday is because Tanner is sick. So like just everyone's getting a little bit of the cold. But I think we're gonna be back on the weekend for Robinhood Weekly, and I mean hopefully everyone's gonna be back to normal over the coming days. But the comments in the chat about why I'm late, I mean, like, Amit found the girl of his life. It's the best comments ever, dude. It's the best. It is absolutely the best. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for being here. We guys got a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, we got Nvda today. That's a big one. Nvda 4:05. I'll be live with Jose. I'll be live with Jose at 3:30. So we'll be doing a 30-minute preview before we get into Nvda. And then we've got to see what we've got going on there. Obviously, that's going to be very important for the broader markets. We need Nvidia to hold up the broader markets, given some of the volatility we've seen today. And so we'll talk more about Nvidia. I think they're going to do well. It would really surprise me if they don't have a quarter that is a strong quarter. It wouldn't surprise me if we gap down 4 or 5%. It would surprise me if we gap down 20%. Like if the quarter was that bad or the guide was that bad for 2025, that it's definitively like the AI trade is done. So I think we'll be okay. But 4:05, we're gonna get a lot more details on what happens on Nvidia. We got a bunch of earnings this morning that are actually pretty damn good. We got Lowe's earnings, which was really good, and Lowe's is up 4% right now, and that's very good in the context of the consumer. We got TJ Maxx yesterday. We had Instacart, Intuit, Kava, Axon, Workday. We'll talk about those. Workday and Axon were the biggest winners. Both of them up about 15% right now in the pre-market, so that was very good. And then we got a bunch of headlines last night from Trump. I'm sure some of you guys might have heard these new ideas he's put out around immigration. So they do have some economic implications. In fact, if you take them to their logical extreme, you could solve the entire debt, the entire $35 trillion debt based on these new ideas that Trump put out. So we will talk a little bit about those and see what we've got going on there. And then finally, I think this is probably the biggest news that everyone cares about. A lot of people cared about this news last night, so we'll get started with this. 9:30, we'll have a better understanding of if this pump can sustain itself. But SMCI up 20%. It was up about 23% last night. It hit a high of $58.27 right now at $54.94. They did file the 10K. And in fact, it's not just SMCI. I mean, everything's reversing from some of the lows we had. Grab's up 1%, Tesla's up 1%, BlackBerry's up 1.4%, Robinhood. Kramer sat down with Vlad yesterday. I thought it was a great interview. Vlad, did a really good job. That's up 2.7%. Palantir's up 2%. You got pretty much everything. Again, Lowe's up 2%, Trade Desk up 1%. Everything's kind of reversing from the lows yesterday. Granted, yesterday we got into extreme fear. And if you did buy the dip yesterday, you've done well. I did partake in some of the dip. I bought 100 shares of Robinhood, 200 shares of Rocket Lab, and 100 shares of SoFi. So nothing crazy, but I did nibble a little bit at the dip. And you got a reversal happening right now. Now, is this reversal fake? Is it a dead cat bounce? Is it have momentum? Is Nvidia earnings kind of is it a bounce before Nvidia earnings and then it all tanks? Or is it a bounce going into Nvidia earnings because everyone knows that Nvidia earnings inevitably is going to be good? I guess we're going to find out in the next 5 hours. But we are getting a little bit of green after 2 consistent days of pretty bad red. SMCI right here up 21%. I think at 9:30, we're going to get a better understanding of what happens with SMCI. I analyzed their 10K last night. We're going to go through some of the numbers and the implications of that 10K. But here's my take on SMCI. If Nvidia crushes, I feel like SMCI should do even better. But we're going to find out at around 4 p.m. if Nvidia actually does end up crushing and if that helps SMCI. All right, cool. Let's get into it. Thank you, everybody, for being here once again. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's get started with the market open. Why is everyone saying I have nice eyebrows? There's like 5 comments in a row about my eyebrows. Shout out to my barber, bro. He makes sure the eyebrows are looking good. So thank you for those that are noticing my eyebrows. I appreciate it. Good morning to everybody. Blake, what's up? Alexander, I'm Beneficial. Good morning. PSA, Swifty, John Paul, Seattle, JCB, for real. What's up? What's up? Some of you guys also have the flu. Damn. A lot of people, dude. A lot of people are getting sick. Hopefully it's like not that intense or not as bad as COVID either, but as long as people are getting better, that's what matters. That, I was telling my sister she has to take another day off from work because usually she doesn't take a day off from work. And I was like, dude, I know it's 2 days in a row, but that's like, I went through it firsthand. I tried to do the market open last week. I was sick. Sometimes you got to just like take off, and if you try to power through it, and it ends up making things worse. And so I think the best thing, hopefully, if people do have sick days or can afford to take a little bit of a break, that's the best way to get out of the sickness. Kevin, what's up? Yeah, Kevin is sick as well. All right, so we got a bunch of people that are sick. Quarantine Quartet, good morning. Gene, good morning. Mila, what's up? William, Legacy, Hardeep Style, Nicola, thank you everybody for being here this morning. It's a big day for a lot of these headlines that we got going on. CT10 says Amit's eyebrows look better than my girlfriend's. Well, I mean, it is what it is. Miguel says, is your barber Dominican? Dude, I don't trust anyone that has a barber that's not Dominican. Let's just say that, dude. Like I went through the phase of trusting other ethnicities with my hair, and I realized, no, the Dominicans know how to cut hair. I'm going to keep going to the Dominicans. Now, he keeps bumping the price, dude. It used to be 20 2 years ago. Then it went to 25. I was like, all right, it's whatever. Then it went to 30. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Then it went to 35. The other day it was 40. I'm like, all right, bro, it's 40. But like, we like it's only because of the eyebrows, and you do what you need to do. But beyond 40 is like, you're pushing it now, bro. Like I'm not out here balling like that where I can pay $50 for a haircut. So $40 is my limit at this point. But in probably 2 years when we have inflation, it'll be like 45. So it is what it is. All right, let's get into what we got for the market open. So I think we'll start off quickly with SMCI, and then we'll keep going from there. 21% right here in SMCI. What was the takeaway from the 10K when I looked at it last night? Well, the takeaway is that things seem to be decent, even though there are some kind of core issues that SMCI is still trying to resolve. So number one, the financials check out. BDO, which is their new accounting firm, gave them an unqualified opinion, which equals a report that the numbers are reliable. No accounting fraud was detected. So that's a good thing in the context of the sort of main concerns about the numbers and cooking the books for SMCI. Someone else right here says that internal controls seem to be a disaster. The adverse opinion due to material weaknesses in IT security, financial oversight, and segregation of duties. The company has outlined a multi-step plan. They're going to hire compliance and IT security staff. They're going to automate controls and strengthen oversight. And they're going to have third-party audits and full remediation. So this person right here that also analyzed it believes that their best estimate is that SMCI can fully remediate its internal controls within 6 to 12 months with key improvements, or within 6 to 18 months, and key improvements we will have within 6 to 12 months. Essentially saying BDO, which is that, hey, our opinion on the internal control over financial reporting is that there are issues inside of the company that need to be resolved, and the company should be taking actions to get those issues resolved. But the numbers are fine, and the numbers check out. And given that the numbers check out, I think that's why the stock also is up 20% right here, because that was the main concern that everyone had. Would the numbers check out? Is there going to be some inconsistency with what SMCI is reporting reportedly versus what the management has been saying on their like preliminary earnings? And pretty much it checked out. Like it wasn't that different from what people thought. My only concern now is, does this pump last? I mean, SMCI has been more volatile than a meme stock, and we've seen this thing go to 65 all the way back down to, as of yesterday, 45, now back up to 54. It was at $30 a month ago. So if you bought it at 30, you're doing very well. And it was at 17 a couple months ago. So if you're doing really well if you bought it at the lows. But if you're buying it literally for this pump to get to your $60 strike on your call option that expires in a week, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we get there. And I don't know if Nvidia takes it there. I think Nvidia can take it there if Nvidia has a really blowout quarter. I'm happy as an Nvidia shareholder that one of their biggest suppliers for GPU servers is not committing any accounting fraud. So that's good for, I think, anyone who holds Nvidia. But in terms of, does this pump last? I hope. I really hope so. I want people to make money off this thing. I don't know. It's showing some weakness already. Maybe at 9:30 when the market opens, we get a bit of a reversal right here and we go back to where we were last night. I think a lot of the money's been made, and you're going to have a lot of people selling into strength also. I think people are going to take their profits here. The question is just going to be, what is the next catalyst to get it to go higher? And this might be the catalyst, and we might just have to wait until the market opens and more liquidity enters in, or it might have to be Nvidia earnings for it to kind of actually play out. Beneficial says that's called gambling. Well, that is correct. I mean, I definitely gambled on this one and made some money on the gamble. But for those that are hoping they have a specific price target around 60 to 70 for this thing to pump to, I don't know. I think it can get there. There's also a chance that this thing just gets eaten up and it goes back to 45. But given the velocity and the strength of how quick, like it was a quick move yesterday, dude. It was tanking 5%. And then boom, up 20%, didn't look back. At one point got up to 25%. I do think that it wants to stay at these levels now. And so I guess we're going to see when the market opens how serious it is in terms of maintaining this pump. So that's what we got on SMCI, and we will see how that ends up playing out in just 30 minutes. Workday, let's look at the earnings that we had yesterday, and then we'll look at Lowe's earnings, which was pretty good. So again, SMCI up about 20%. Lucid, CEO stepping down. That one's down 6%. First Solar, they missed on EPS, beat on revenue. That's up 3.7%. Workday, beat on the top and the bottom, had a good guide. I mean, enterprise software, this is theoretically good for Palantir because we're seeing that more money is being spent in the SaaS sector. Really good for Salesforce, Datadog, Intuit, all those companies. Intuit as well had earnings. They're up 8%. Intuit gapped down almost 15% on the last earnings. So it's nice to see them with a reversal right here. Intuit owns QuickBooks, TurboTax, all that stuff. So Intuit right here is up 8%. Workday's up 10%. Axon, phenomenal quarter. These guys make body cameras. They've really started to propel over the past couple of years. They're up 14.5%. Kava is up about 3%. They had a good quarter, not a great quarter, but not a horrible quarter either. Zoom Info, really good quarter. That's up 17%. Sezzle, that's a buy now, pay later fintech company. That's up 18.3%. Home Depot, again, yesterday we talked about, that's up 1.4%. And then you got Lowe's in the morning, which it's so ironic because in the midst of all the red we were feeling yesterday, what was green? Retailers. And the reason I'm saying it's ironic is because the whole sort of, I guess you could argue, red volatility we've seen over the past couple of days has largely been from Walmart starting off this trend of people thinking that the consumer is strapped for cash. Not to mention consumer confidence came in at 93.5 yesterday. 108 was the expectation. So a dramatic miss on consumer confidence. Why were all the consumer stocks up? Lowe's right here with a double beat, 199 versus 184 on EPS, and then 18.5 versus 18.29 on revenue. Lowe's was up, Home Depot was up, Walmart was up, Target was up, Costco was up. So tech took a bit of a beating, which it's been taking a beating for a while. And the consumer stocks that are supposed to be down because the consumer is down were up. To me, it's a wonky type of market, dude, because it's not going with the correct narrative. It's not congruent with the narrative that you would imagine it would be congruent with. And so it's kind of, in my interpretation, it was more of a growth stock sell-off. The Rocket Labs, the Robinhoods, the Palantirs of the world, they're the ones that got hit. I did buy Robinhood yesterday. We do have some updates on Hood. We'll talk about it in a second. And everything else kind of was safety. Even the retailers that the market felt was more safe than Palantir, Rocket Lab, and Robinhood, which I can't blame them for that. But and Tesla as well. I mean, Tesla is now below $1 trillion. It's at 306 right here. A little bit of a rebound. It was at 297 yesterday. So I think this was more of a growth stock sell-off over the past couple of days. We'll see if the sell-off continues versus like a broader market sell-off. I mean, again, the S&P barely up all-time highs. So it's just hard to see the broader market taking as big of a hit, even with the narrative being that a lot of stocks are getting hurt. Christina says my value stocks were up. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these value names, along with these retailers, were not doing too bad, even though tech was getting hit. The valuations for most of growth were absurd. I'm not going to disagree with you. Yeah, I think valuations for a lot of growth names are absurd, probably still absurd, and probably still deserve to just like cool out a little bit. And so the question becomes, where does the money rotate to? And I guess we're going to find that out going into March. Again, seasonally, SoFi right here up 1.5% as well. I think it bottomed at 1380 yesterday. Seasonally, February sucks. I'm going to show this chart once again, just because I feel like everyone needs to see it. February tends to be one of the worst months, along with September for the S&P 500. And it kind of makes sense that that's happening. All the excitement of the new administration is wearing off. You get a little bit of the Trump trade kind of going away. Definitely the Tesla part of the Trump trade is fading off right now. Very seasonal with what we're seeing. I wonder if March is a real rebound or we continue some of this pain. I guess Nvidia earnings is going to set us up for that. We have 2 days left of February, and then we are officially in the third month of the year, which is insane to me. I feel like this is moving way quicker than 2024. But we're going to be finding out how that ends up playing out over the next coming days. Let me do a poll right here in the chat on Nvidia earnings. We'll get this poll started early and see what you guys think. If Nvidia crushes or not. And we'll get into some new policies proposed by Trump yesterday. All right. Does Nvidia crush today? Yes or no? My answer is yes. I don't think that means the stock price goes up. And I don't need the stock price to go up. I don't think that matters. What matters to me is just that they crush. As long as they crush, eventually the stock price will follow. But it would be nice to see if they end up doing it. All right, so let's talk about what Trump said yesterday. Interesting idea. I'll just play the video and then I'll get your guys' comments right here.
Something else that's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card you have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. And never been done before, anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks out? Do you want to say a couple of words about it?
Sure.
President, are there
Wait a
any
minute.
requirements for that gold
Hang on a
card?
second.
Do you have to invest a certain amount of money in this country in order to qualify for that gold card?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Go
the
ahead.
EB-5 program was really lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card, and they can invest in America, and we can use that money to reduce our deficit. Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why do we give out EB-5 for green cards? The President of the United States understands that the right answer is, why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
The gold card, well, millions, but the gold card will bring in with it people that create jobs, very high-level people. I think companies will pay to get people in. For instance, you today graduate from the Wharton School of Finance or Harvard or Stanford or any college, and nobody knows if you can even go to work for a company. So Apple and all these companies that want to get people to be working for them will be able to buy a card, and for the people that are number one in their class at top schools, I see that as one of the things. But generally speaking, it'll be people with money and people that create jobs, and they won't have to pay any tax on income outside of the United States, which they're not paying right now. They're not citizens, but have to pay if they create jobs in the United States. They'll pay full taxes like everybody else. So you're getting big taxpayers, big job producers, and we'll be able to sell maybe 1 million of these cards, maybe more than that. And if you add up the numbers, they're pretty good. As an example, 1 million cards would be worth $5 trillion. $5 trillion.
Wow.
And if you sell 10 million of the cards, that's a total of $50 trillion. Well, we have 35 trillion in debt. That'd be nice.
So this was the part to me where I was just like, I was listening to this last night and I was like, so theoretically, right? Let's just be really theoretical here, because I don't know how practical this is. But if you were to sell 1 million cards, that would generate 5 trillion of revenue. If you sell 10 million, you would get 50 trillion. That would wipe out the U.S. debt. He makes it sound so simple. That's like, oh, well, if we just sell the, we were done with it. I don't know if there's that many people in the world that are able to go through the vetting. I mean, the people need to have the money, first of all, which means you've got to have, look, if you got 5 million liquid, you've got to have at least 20 to 30 million net worth to part with 5 million. There's not that many people that have that type of net worth. Number two, there's not that many people that have that type of net worth that are actually like good people and that like don't come from a corrupt situation or a family that the United States probably doesn't want having massive influence in the United States, yada, yada, right? Like, so I think the pool of talent is probably not 10 million people. I don't even know if it's 1 million people. Maybe it is. Maybe there's a world in which I can see 1 million people getting vetted to do this. But the idea in and of itself is very interesting to me. I don't hate the idea because it's like, first of all, here from a sort of entrepreneur builder perspective, I'm thinking of, hey, can we be creative? Can we find a way to creatively pay off this debt? And no matter how much you hate the idea, love the idea, we need a way to pay off our debt. Doge is one way to try to get that debt to be paid off. By the way, the 10 years hitting a new low for the year, 4.28, which is nice to see right here. But eventually we're going to have to raise money as well. And if we can't do it necessarily just through growth in GDP, is there a way where people could pay to enter the United States? Now, obviously, the people that pay to enter the United States can't be horrible people, oligarchs, et cetera. I mean, that could be very bad for the United States. That could create a lot more problems. So it's a really nuanced situation of making sure we balance the money we're getting versus the people that we're getting. But as a concept, I don't hate the idea of saying, hey, maybe there is a way that if you're an entrepreneur and you're willing to invest in the United States, this is an expedited path to citizenship. And the only way you're able to invest in the United States is if you have the money in the first place, which is why you're able to afford this $5 million gold card. Gold is obviously just branding. I mean, it's a green card that, they're saying is a gold card, but it's not literally a gold card. Maybe you talked with Vlad and that's where he got the idea for the gold card. But in general, I think it's a bit unpractical, but I like the optimism around trying. And I think in a new administration, at least you need to have someone who has new ideas. Like, I don't know if we would get these ideas from other administrations. Maybe these ideas aren't going to work. Maybe these ideas aren't the best, but at least it's something that theoretically could paint a picture of resolving some of our debt. Now, I mean, this is going to be really interesting, dude. Trump's painted a lot of pictures. He's painted a picture about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. That hasn't happened. He's painted a picture about a United States sovereign wealth fund, which I know he just announced it a month ago, but still no real progress on that. He's now painting a picture around the gold card and eliminating the U.S. debt or getting rid of a significant chunk of it if you just pay to play and come into the United States and become an entrepreneur and invest. We're going to see over the next 4 years if that stuff plays out. And if it does, I think it would be successful. But if it doesn't, then it would just be kind of these ideas that never materialized. Now, some of the stuff that has played out is Apple investing $500 billion. And even though Apple probably didn't want to invest $500 billion, they were forced to do it to avoid the tariffs. He did get $500 billion from Apple into the United States, which is good. Good for American jobs, good for broader American innovation, and obviously really good for the commitment of investing in the United States. So, I mean, some things have worked. It's only been a couple months. The Operation Stargate also seems like it's going to be pretty effective when it comes to OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle. And now we got this Apple $500 billion announcement that we had on Monday. But the other ideas, I think it'll take some time to see them play out. And if they do work out, I mean, that's great. But a bit skeptical on how easily they are to essentially play out. So that was one of the updates we got from Trump yesterday, and that was kind of the main headline that we saw. He's going to sign some more executive orders today at 3 p.m. I don't know what they're going to be about, but it looks like pretty much every day we're getting new executive orders. He signed a couple yesterday. The big deal was this gold card argument that he made. But outside of that, nothing too crazy coming from the White House over the past couple of days. Now, again, he did confirm the tariffs. I still think the market's calling BS. They don't know if it's actually going to happen or not. So, like, yes, the tariffs are there. That's probably created some volatility over the past couple of days. I think really the volatility is based on the market getting overextended and wanting any excuse to sell off. I don't think it's really because of tariffs, but we'll find out in the next coming weeks how aggressively those tariffs are implemented as well. Palantir right here, 1.1% in the pre-markets. Robinhood, 1.72%. All right, so Hood, Vlad was live with Kramer yesterday. I know some people were upset that he actually sat down with Kramer. In my opinion, I liked it. And the reason I liked it is because basically it was Vlad saying, hey, we are so confident in our business that that we don't care if we have to sit down with Kramer. We're not going to use that as a reason why the stock would collapse, as people tend to say. We're going to use that as a reason to say we're so confident that even Kramer can't stop us. It's actually funny because when I was talking to Vlad back at the Investor Day, he said I had a feeling this would happen because he's always wanted to do Kramer. He's done Kramer's show back in 2015 when they were just getting started. And when he was a lot younger in the game. So he told me he wants to do it, but his staff was saying like, we shouldn't do it. And so his staff was a bit more hesitant. He's like, dude, I'm ready to talk with him. I don't really care. I don't think he buys into superstitions or anything like that. He's more of a founder who executes, and he knows that if the business does well, the business will continue to do well. But he finally did it today. I think he was with Bloomberg yesterday as well, and we have some headlines from Bloomberg that we'll talk about. But I thought it was a great interview. He talked about his story, got exposed to a new audience. Kramer has been bearish since $10. He always felt that it was more of a gambling meme app, and now Kramer has kind of switched his mind. He did tweet about them this morning, and now he says Robinhood has nothing to do with gambling or options. It's all about an investment platform. So Kramer says Robinhood is not a crypto or dangerous options platform. It is an investment in the way the next generations will invest, and it has the field to itself because most investment houses don't even want their clients to understand what they want. Big mistake. So we have Kramer on our side now, which is it is what it is. So anyway, I thought it was a good interview. The other headline from Robinhood yesterday that I thought was important is an interview he did with Bloomberg. And he didn't say anything that new, but it did catch people's attention. If you've listened to Vlad on this topic before, then I mean, he said it multiple times, but he wants Robinhood to be a place where people will buy and sell real estate one day. That got a lot of people talking in terms of what Robinhood could be in terms of a next generation platform for millennials and Gen Z that, quite frankly, most of us don't own property yet. And so we would be open to be using a platform that is rooted in technology, a platform that we're daily active users for, to engage in the process of owning property. But I don't really think it's about buying a house or getting a mortgage. I think it's more about blockchains. So I think he's talking about tokenizing assets like real estate. We talked about this idea before, but let's say you have some like condo in New York City and you'd be okay with people trading parts of that condo on a blockchain. You can't do it through like the stock market because then that condo would have to IPO, which doesn't make sense. But on a blockchain, if people can trade meme coins, people can trade a tokenized asset of anything. Larry Fink from BlackRock has talked about this for a while, and that could also include real estate. So I think it would kind of be wild to like trade pieces of property using crypto, which means the price of that condo would be determined based on how many people are trading it, just like anything else is determined with a bid and the ask in the market. And Robinhood would have the infrastructure and the rails to essentially allow people to engage in that trading via their blockchain infrastructure, which I think is really cool. And they would make a lot of money off this because they would have to pay no one. It would be crypto take rates, which they make 10x more than equity take rates because there's no middleman. They control the entire flow. So that would be bullish. That would definitely be cool. The question is if they would be able to even do that long term. It's also to replace the title process. Yes, that's another idea I heard yesterday that could be a way that they navigate that. Ray says my next house will be bought on Hood. There were some great memes yesterday about people like imagining you're day trading someone's house on Hood. It's like funny, but I think that could happen via crypto, and the people that would want their house to be tokenized because they think there's greater upside in the property being on the blockchain. I mean, who knows, bro? In the next 5 years, I think there's a lot of cool stuff that could happen in that area. AppLovin is down. All right, there you go. So this is another growth stock, advertising tech, that has been hit pretty badly the past couple of weeks. Wow, 16% again. This thing was already down for the week 24%. It is now down 15%. That is a full 40%. AppLovin's getting hit. Apparently a short report is out right now. If anyone owns this name, let me know in the chat. Yeah, this one's getting hit. This one's getting hit pretty badly. Short report on AppLovin. There was a short report on Rocket Lab yesterday, by the way, about Neutron not launching till 2027, which is why I think Rocket Lab fell as hard as it did yesterday, because it was down pretty bad compared to some of the other growth stocks. But yeah, AppLovin is the one that's getting hit. All right, so AppLovin is being targeted by two short sellers. The names of the short sellers are Culper Research and Fuzzy Panda. Okay. Alleging ad fraud and deceptive practices. Culper calls it the single largest stock promotion unraveling since the great financial crisis, while Fuzzy Panda accuses the company of stealing metadata and violating Apple and Google policies. Well, that's not the best for AppLovin. I don't know enough about this company. It is up 10x. I mean, now it's up probably 7x from 2022. So it has been one of the best performers in the growth stock area. But it looks like two short reports are definitely targeting it pretty aggressively. Where is Bitcoin? Bitcoin up. Bitcoin's getting some lows right here as well. 85.9 was the bottom. We're at 86.3, getting very close to that bottom. Don't know why Bitcoin's getting a little bit of a tank right now. Bitcoin ETFs lost $1 billion of inflows yesterday. The Bitcoin ecosystem is not holding up as strongly. MicroStrategy is down another 2.4%, now $244. Would not surprise me to see MicroStrategy below 200 if we get Bitcoin back to 79,000. We get Bitcoin down 7,000. MSTR is going to take a hit. It was down 11% yesterday already. Bitcoin right here at 85,000. So all the crypto proxies, I imagine Coinbase is down right now. Yep, Coinbase down a little bit. Riot, which had a decent earnings yesterday, but they're down right now. And then CleanSpark down another 1.2% at $8 as they get hit from Bitcoin going down. Yeah, not great times in crypto. I mean, okay, let me see the poll that you guys said. So 72% of you said Nvidia crushes. All right, so let's do another poll. So the majority of you guys are bullish here. Here's the next poll. Did we top in Bitcoin? Did we top in Bitcoin for the cycle? Which means 109,000 on Trump's inauguration. Was that it? And it's going to take another 4 years to get back to those levels. I want to say no, dude. I really want to say no. Granted, I have no clue. I don't think any of us have a clue, but if I had to, gun to my head, I would say no. I would say we have not topped out yet. I would say it's, I think there's not enough signs of obvious topping out. Granted, the meme coin stuff is pretty aggressive, and that's, I don't like seeing that. But I think this is kind of what a lot of economists that are bullish on Bitcoin thought would happen. They thought it would be a choppy first half of the year, and then by the second half, it would get a bit normal. But I don't know. I don't know if 109 will be that elusive top that we are chasing for the next few years. Trump hasn't said anything pro crypto since the election. That's wild. Yeah, I mean, look, that strategic Bitcoin reserve is becoming more of a fantasy every single day. I really hope it ends up becoming true, but I don't know. We just haven't heard enough from it, and that's okay. Like, I know they're focused on a ton of other stuff, but there's a certain part of the population that really wants this part to, you know, to like actually become real. And as of now, we just don't have actual updates on that. GM, by the way, they initiated a $6 billion buyback. Their stock right here up 4.6%. So they announced today they were buying $6 billion worth of their stock. Definitely not something that shareholders would be upset about. That stock right here up 4.62%. Currently in the pre-markets. Tom Lee says it's going to 60K before 250. So he's bullish, but he definitely thinks it's going to be painful before it gets to the upsides. Lucid's tanking. Yes, Lucid is tanking. Bank of America downgraded them from $3 to $1. At this point, it's like, I don't know, dude. I don't know if these guys stay public for that long. But Peter Rawlinson, the CEO, is gone. So he stepped down since 2019. He's been on. They're down 8%. Earnings were okay. They missed on EPS. They beat on revenue. Again, I mean, they're doing $200 million a quarter. They're not really selling that many cars. I don't know how long they stay in business. The Saudis really want to keep them alive, but I don't know, dude. If I was the Saudis, I would just buy more Tesla stock at this point versus trying to internally grow our own Tesla competitor, because that's what Lucid was pitched as, and obviously it's just not getting there. So Lucid right here down 8% currently as we get into the market open. They might wait to accumulate for a reserve during a bear market. You know, I heard this argument yesterday. So I mean, it's not a crazy argument. So the argument is like, hey, like the US wants cheap Bitcoin, and they're going to wait until this thing really crashes for them to buy, which I mean, I don't hate that. Like, I don't think that's a crazy argument. And if Bitcoin naturally was going to come down, obviously Trump probably doesn't want to buy the top of it. Sailor will buy the top every day, but Trump probably doesn't want to. So, I mean, from that perspective, if we do get 70, 60K, maybe that's when they get excited for it. But I guess we're going to have to see if that ends up playing out. Okay, let's get an update on Tesla, see what Bank of America has to say about them, and then we will keep going from there.
This is here. How much do you think they're related?
So, you know, I think they're certainly piling on. But when we look at sort of the fundamentals of the company, it's got product that is pretty old at this point. When you look at the 3 and the Y, the 3 is 8 years old, the Y is 5 years old. I think of standard, you know, product cycles in the traditional industry, they're 5 to 6 years. So these things are these things are very old. And when you look at sort of the Chinese competition, they're 2 to 3 year cycles. So I think there's a real issue with the product cadence, and we need a lot of new product to come, which is supposedly around the corner. But
do you think it is around the corner?
Well, I mean, you know, the claim is this entry-level vehicle of $30,000 is going to happen in the first half of this year. Now, we haven't seen any pictures of it yet, right? So, I mean, that's a little bit odd not to have a prototype out if we've got a product coming in the next few months.
How many people actually think, like legit in their heart believe, we're getting a $30,000 car in 2025? Because they said first half of 2025. No one on the call really asked about it. So, I mean, they didn't really talk much about it. I guess analysts on the call stopped caring about it. They care more about FSD. But that was supposed to be one of the big bull cases for 2025 on Tesla. That $30,000 car is coming. How many people actually think it'll be out in the next few months?
But you can't deny that some of the political commentary, which is a little bit polarizing, depending on which side of the aisle.
Do you think that's changing the number of people buying and selling Teslas right now?
You know, I think the consideration set is probably gone down on that. So if you think about the funnel of people that consider your product, I definitely think that probably is.
You think it's gone down? You don't think that it's been matched on the other side by people who, you know, love President Trump?
You know, most of those folks are truck buyers and ICE vehicle buyers. So, I mean, I don't think there's a one-for-one replacement. Certainly not in Europe either.
And how much do you think you should think about the valuation of this company as a car company versus something else? Because even at this valuation, you can't really say it's a car company.
So, you know, I think as we look at our price objective, 50% of it is composed of robotaxi and FSD. So, I mean, I think as you're looking at it, the vehicles or the hardware necessary to get out there, right? To deploy the software. But ultimately, this is really an FSD and robotaxi story.
And you believe, okay, so to match that valuation that we're looking at right now, you have to believe, I think, that FSD not just comes to Tesla, but actually ultimately gets sold or licensed to Ford and Toyota and everybody else, no?
I think there's a possibility that that's a component of it, but I think that there's a extreme lack of understanding in the industry as to the utility of what they deliver to consumers. And it's to get from A to B quickly, right? And if FSD really works on an autonomous basis or even a semi-autonomous basis and means that vehicles can't hit things, the reality is speed limits could go up. And I think there's a real lack of understanding that your core function is to get people from A to B quickly. And if you can do that, faster, you actually create real value. And we've done this in the past. We did it with the Model T in the early 1900s. It's actually happened in the past. So I think there could be potential value creation that goes beyond FSD and robo.
Can I ask you a question about that, though? Because I've heard.
So, I mean, look, obviously, I think he's correct on that kind of core thesis. The interesting question there is that, will this $30,000 car come? And like, I agree, dude. You would think if a $30,000 car was coming, we would see more pictures and previews and people would see it on the road and stuff like that. We've seen previews of the Cyber Cab, and that's probably going to be launching in Austin in June. But we haven't seen like the $30,000 version of what that looks like. I'm actually going to be doing a podcast with Farzad today on his channel. It won't be live. It'll be recorded, but that is definitely a question I'll ask him because he's big in the Tesla community. And I'll ask him, like, does he legit think this car is coming or not? Because as of now, I would say it's not coming out in the next couple months, which their deadline was by June. But if it does come out as per Q1 earnings, and then we get the Austin robotaxi launch, I mean, I think that would be pretty cool. And I do think a lot of people, as much as they hate Elon, they would love to get a Tesla for $30,000 versus a Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla for $30,000. It's just, the average Tesla is like around $45,000, $50,000, which makes it just really hard for most people to buy. So yeah, I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. Tesla stock right here. Let me know if anyone bought the dip yesterday. Again, I'm getting very close to buying the dip. The only thing is I don't know if this thing really starts getting rated only as a car business. Obviously, I know long-term it's not a car business, and like that thesis is fine. The problem is in the short term, where does it go? How does it trade? And I think obviously nibbling at it right here is not a bad issue at all. I mean, at this point, it's down 25% year to date. Probably will buy a couple shares today just because at this point, low 300s. Although I think there's a good shot it could definitely see the 250s now that it's like really breaking all these levels of support. I don't know. Tesla's narrative is fundamentally different and it can change on a dime. The problem here that I'm seeing with Tesla stock, which is not a long-term problem, but obviously a short-term problem to try to get a better entry price here, is that the Trump thesis has turned into a Trump problem, meaning it's not an issue it wasn't an issue when him and Trump were best friends 2 months ago. Now it's an issue because his role in Doge is isolating so many people, right? And he's becoming so into politics that people see Trump as a liability versus Trump as an asset. And why was Trump an asset a couple months ago? Well, it was because he was going to get rid of self-driving regulations, which would further open the ability for Tesla to expand. The problem is no one's talking about that anymore. Everyone's talking about Elon working with Trump to do XYZ. I mean, literally Trump's first cabinet meeting today is happening at 2 p.m. Elon Musk will be part of that cabinet meeting. So when you talk about two peas in a pod, Elon and Trump definitely are getting along very well from a political perspective. It's just the stockholders, or at least the market, is not seeing that as necessarily bullish right now. So that's one problem. The other big problem is European sales, which people want to say is not an issue, but that's an issue. That's definitely an issue short term for Tesla. I mean, to ignore that is kind of ignoring reality, which is that European sales are down badly. Now, are European sales down because Elon is becoming very political and a lot of Europeans don't like that? Probably, but there's also other external factors that are beyond Tesla's control for why this is happening. But January were the lowest numbers in years. Now, granted, I think one caveat to this, to fight back against this stat we're looking at, is that people are waiting for the Model Y refresh. And once that comes out in March, that can really bump up the numbers, which is, I think, a fair point. But excluding that, these numbers aren't good. I mean, down 45% year over year. Sales dropped from 18,000 to 9,000. That's just not the best situation in the world for Tesla right now. So I guess we're going to see. Wow, we have like 30 seconds until the market opens. I didn't even realize. So Yeah, we'll find out what happens with Tesla, and we'll see what happens with the broader market. We were getting a reversal across different parts. Wow, Grab's up about 3.2%. You got Palantir's up, Robinhood is up, SMCI is 21%. We'll have all eyes on SMCI as we get into the market open in the next 30 seconds. Today's going to be a day to see, do we get a reversal? Does Tesla reverse from the absolute bottom yesterday? Does Robinhood reverse? Does Nvda gap up before earnings? Can SMCI maintain this pump? Or do we continue to get the red that we've seen over the past couple of days? And can we officially get into March without having to bleed as much as we bled over the last 2 weeks of February? All right, here we go. All eyes on SMCI. The 10K is filed Wednesday, February 26, 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. All right, wake your ass up. Here we go. SMCI holding a 20% pump. We are green. It is not officially going away yet, but we currently are holding that 20% pump. About 19.3% to 20%. So I'm not seeing a massive gap down. No one's really taking this opportunity to sell a ton of their position. If anything, I would say there's more buyers coming in. 20.445% right here, 55 on SMCI. We'll get back to SMCI in a second. Grab is up 2.74%. I did buy some more Grab yesterday, about 100 shares Grab. So I bought Grab, SoFi, Rocket Lab, and Robinhood yesterday. Nvidia 130, that's up 2.9%. SMCI up 19.4. Trade Desk is up 0.5%. Rocket Lab up 1.4%. You got a red candle as soon as it opened. It was up 5% in the pre-market. Now it's up 1.3%. Google is red. Wow, they're really taking Google down. 175. They are really going to let Google trade at what, 16 times fiscal year 2026 earnings? I mean, they are taking that bad boy down. Home Depot, that's up. Archer is up 4%. Nice little rebound. Oklo's up 7%. That's a rebound from some volatility over the past couple of days. Nubank is up another 2%, 1142. Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, all the safe plays are down. So we're getting a little bit of a shift back to growth over value. Carnival Cruise is up 2%. JP Morgan is flat. SoFi up 2.19%. Robinhood 4720, that's up 2.72% as well. Tesla 303, that's up 0.42%. So a bit of a rebound from that 297 low that we saw yesterday. MicroStrategy flat, not as red as it was in the pre-market. That's at 250. AppLovin is down 10%. A short report came out on AppLovin. It was down 15%. So about a 5% recovery, but still down 10%. It was down 8% yesterday. Bitcoin 86,155. Bitcoin is 144 away from going back into the 85s. Which looks like it's very possible right here. It's holding on by a thread. Grab right here is up 3%. Nvidia up 4%. SMCI still holding on 20%, not moving above that, but not getting that much below that. Whereas Apple is red. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of a sell off in Apple, 1.4%. Meta goes green. Google goes red. Amazon goes green. Amazon, by the way, had a great recovery yesterday. Amazon went down to 201 and came back up to 211, now at 214. Nvidia is green, Tesla's green, Apple's red, Microsoft's red, Meta's green, and Google is red as well on the day. The Google dump is crazy. I mean, that's weird, bro. That is weird that they're taking Google down this low. HIMS is up 4%, 4184. So HIMS getting some love, not really falling back into that 37 level that it was at yesterday. Bitcoin now officially in the 85s. If it drops down another basically 1%, we are going to hit a new low for the year for 2025 on Bitcoin. S&P 500 is green. Lowe's is green. Again, a great earnings. Palantir 89.74. So we are not giving up the 89s. We were at 85 yesterday. We were very close to 84, where there's a gap fill that a lot of people are thinking is going to be filled. But as of now, we're getting a nice little rebound right here, $90.25. I think holding 90 would be really nice. If Nvidia crushes, I could see us going beyond 90. But even if we hold this 85 to 90 range, I think that would be very, very productive for Palantir at these levels. Rocket Lab right here up 2.2%. So that one's getting a little bit of love. Archer again up 3.4%. All the crypto proxies are basically down or flat. Coinbase, CleanSpark are flat. MicroStrategy down another 2%. MicroStrategy now 246, market cap of 63 billion. Their premium to NAV is 1.5. And that is one of the lowest premiums they've had in the past couple of months. At one point, it was almost 3.5. Semiconductor stocks are all green, except on semiconductor. Intel's green, Supermicro's green, AMD is green. Now Supermicro's taking a little bit of a hit, went from 20% to 17%. So you do have some people taking profits there. AMD is at 104. That's up. Nvidia 129, back below 130. Dell 112, Micron 96, ARM 138, TSM 192, and then Qualcomm right here at 162 here right now. Nvidia is going to be at 4:05 p.m. I'll be live at 3:30 Eastern. 4:05, we will get Nvidia results. FSLR for solar, they missed on EPS, but they're up 10%. Street likes it. So then where's Enphase? Enphase is up 2%, and then SolarEdge is up 6%. All right, so solar's catching a bid. Don't know why First Solar's up 10%, but looks like the street liked something about their call or their commentary. HIMS, by the way, up 5%, and that's why First Solar is getting that love. Any macro news today? So not really. Yesterday was the most important macro news we had in the context of consumer confidence. I mean, we have a couple international pieces of news. So mortgage rates did fall a little bit more today at 6.88%, which is good. Not horrible. It was at 6.93 last week. Now we're at 6.88. So we do have mortgage rates coming down a little bit. Spain's producer inflation was the highest in 2 years. So PPI in Spain is going up there. US nat gas prices did fall on Wednesday. Also, oil prices are the lowest they've been in a while, dude. We are below 70 on oil, which is actually like really good. I mean, like you could argue there's a bearish way to interpret this, but to me, the consumer is going to get some relief if oil prices come down. Hopefully this plays somewhat of a role in getting egg prices to come down and general goods and services to come down as input costs go down. But oil is taking a little bit of a breather, which is good. And then in Germany, they have something that is also similar to consumer confidence that we have in the United States. Their consumer, what they call morale in Germany, they have a consumer morale indicator, is now negative 24.7. That is the lowest reading since April of last year. So consumer confidence in Germany is similar to at least consumer confidence in the United States. It's at the lowest levels in basically the past 18 months. And so that is some macro news from Germany, which makes sense for Germany because they are not growing right now. And you would imagine consumers are feeling a little worried about the state of the economy. Tesla right here, 307, that's up 1.3. Bitcoin, 85.9. Robinhood, 47.2. Coinbase is flat. S&P is green. Vistra is green. That's another data center play. VRT is green. All the NVIDIA proxies are green. VRT is up 7%. Vista is up 5%. Salesforce has earnings today as well. That's going to be important. Benioff's going to be discussing agents and if they are going to become like a real thing. So Salesforce is today and Snowflake is today. Snowflake right here at 165. On top of that, we did have the House pass Trump's budget yesterday. So they passed the budget, which I believe is going to be worth about $4 trillion. And the budget includes these key items: no tax on overtime pay, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, $50 billion of a budget for targeted economic zones, $100 billion to enhance the U.S. military, $340 billion for border security, including the new Iron Dome that Trump wants to build, which Raytheon, Palantir, and Anduril are in discussions to be able to bid for that contract, and a permanent 20% tax reduction for small businesses. I don't know what the conditions are on that tax reduction, but that is what the bill includes. So it passed the House. Palantir right here up 3%. It did not pass the Senate. And I don't know if they have the votes in the Senate to get it passed. I would hope they do. But if they don't, this thing is going to go back to the House and we're going to get another vote on this in the coming weeks. So hopefully we do get a little bit of a compromise from the Senate and we get that end up getting that passed. Robinhood 4.5%. So getting a nice rebound right here. 48 now on Hoodie. If you bought anywhere below 48 yesterday, you're doing well in terms of buying that dip right here, 4.5%. So nice to see that getting a rebound. Tesla as well up 1.52%. I mean, we're getting a bounce across the entire market. Nvda almost 131. SMCI still holding on to 18%. Rocket Lab up 2.4%. It's not the same type of sustained red we've seen over the past couple of days. And also it's not a type of green that's like super like up 10%, but it's also not a type of green that's like very minimal, like up 0.3%. Like on average, most of these stocks that got hit over the past couple of days, they're up about 4%, 4 to 6%, I would say, which is good. I mean, looks like market participants are coming in and some of that money is leaving the sidelines and maybe taking a chance on these names. Tempest AI, this one's up 1.9%. Kathy Wood did sell 430,000 shares of SoFi yesterday, and she bought 350,000 shares of Tempest. So she did a bit of a swap for SoFi and Tempest. Grab, where is Grab? Grab's at 479. Okay, cool. 5.2%. So the institutional holdings I'm seeing on Grab every day continue to just get higher and higher. Here's one that I'll show you guys this morning that I saw. Arcadian Asset Management, they increased their Grab position in Q4 from 6,000 shares to 12 million shares. It's the largest increase they've ever had. So they added nearly 13 million shares. And the reason for that, again, is because there's really no debt. We got massive cash pile. You've got the Southeast Asian region as a tailwind. You got a super app route that Grab is going down. You got improving margins, and you got the competition basically saying, all right, it is Grab's market, and we're going to have to compete aggressively to be able to actually have a chance to fight with Grab. One person's thesis on Grab was actually really interesting. Their thesis was that the reason Grab spent so much money on consumer incentives, which is essentially marketing to get people to use the product, Google now at 174, is because they want to make it so bad for their competitors and show them that they're willing to spend so much money. They spent $530 million in Q4. Like, even I was like, okay, that's a lot of money they spent on marketing. Someone's thesis was, hey, they're showing their competitors that either you let us buy you guys out or you guys are not going to have margins. You know, it's kind of like sort of cutthroat of a sign of just like, we're going to keep spending as much as we need to spend to get users, and you guys can't spend this much. So either we're going to buy you out and you guys quit, or you guys are not going to have any profits. I think it's a little bit of a stretch of a theory, but it's also not that much of a stretch, because this is basically what Uber did back in 2010. And Dara is on the board of Grab, Uber CEO. So if he's telling them to kind of deploy that framework and basically saying, hey, don't worry about profits, don't worry about Wall Street, just worry about making the competition realize they can't compete, then maybe there's a world in which that strategy is what Grab is deploying right here. Robinhood 48.43, trying to get back to 50, up 5.4%. Tesla 307, GM at 49.93. That's up 6% off the new $6 billion buyback. MicroStrategy going slightly green right here. Palantir at $90.90, trying to get back to 91. Resistance on 91 is not there because we just hit 91 and we hit it 2 seconds ago as well. So Palantir getting a nice boost, up 4%, along with Hood up 5.4% here right now. Apple's dumping 2%. Okay, so the reason Apple's dumping is because right now we're getting back to risk on, and Apple's not risk on. Apple is very safe. So I think that kind of makes sense that Apple's taking a little bit of a breather right here as money is rotating out. But it's kind of, here's the question, right? Is this a dead cat bounce? Because this is a very quick reversal of value to growth after 2 days of value being perceived as better than growth. Where's Berkshire Hathaway? Berkshire is red. Berkshire hit an all-time high on Monday. It is now back to normal. Yeah, look, Big Bear AI up 10%. That we're risk on, right? Like that is definitely risk on. Soundhound, I would imagine, is probably green. Soundhound is green. That's up another 6%. We are risk on. Nebis, that one took a nasty beating yesterday. Is that one green today? Let's see. Hims is also up 6%. Nebis, yeah, Nebis is up 7%. I mean, 60% of you said no, we didn't top in Bitcoin. I'll ask the next poll right here in the chat, which is dead cat bounce or not. I don't know, dude. I mean, for this to be a dead cat bounce, which obviously is very possible, I think Nvidia would have to confirm some crappy earnings, and then the street gets really like upset. But this is kind of a normal bounce after 2 days of red. Like I mean, like, what would be the narrative to have another? What would be the narrative to get Robinhood to 40 and Tesla to 260? Like, are those possible? Yes, but to see that happen in a straight line 3 days in a row doesn't usually happen. I mean, you tend to get some bounces in between before that happens. The question is, can these bounces stop those red days from coming? Bitcoin right here, 86,500 as well. Hims up 7.3%. And then you got Palantir trying to chill out right there at that $90 range, potentially getting to 91. Yeah, I agree. It all depends on Nvidia earnings as well. Dude, Google's weird though. Why are they selling off Google? I don't get it. Google down 1.2%. I don't get that one, dude. That's weird. That's really weird. Nothing in the earnings were bad. Cloud growth was great. Guidance was a little off, but that's a weird one that they're taking Google down. If anyone has a theory on that, let me know. I don't know. Unless they're expecting, I don't know, unless they, because you can't even say, oh, well, they're rotating money to something that was sold off worse, like Tesla, because yes, Tesla was sold off worse. So I get it. But at that point, you would just keep selling like Apple or Microsoft, like not Google's growing. Like what's the reason to sell Google for those names? That's a weird one. It's very, very weird. App's getting smoked. Yeah, App loving again. There's a short report that came out on these guys. They are not doing the best right here. Down. Wow, they got halted. They went down 17%. All right, that's your first halt of the day. We will see if this one gets unhalted in the next probably 15 minutes. It was that bad, dude. That's not good. If a short report is enough to get the stock to fall 17%, like that means people are so on edge on their thesis for holding the stock in the first place. If a short report is enough to shake you out of your conviction. Now, granted, AppLovin's a $100 billion company. It's not a small company, but that is weird for people to get that scared. NASDAQ's tanking. Let's go to the Qs. The Qs are up. The actual NASDAQ no, the NASDAQ's not tanking. It's up. It's up 0.49%. I mean, it's down a little bit from where it was 15 minutes ago, but NASDAQ's not completely tanking. SPX is also green. Dude, again, it's been one of these markets where like the indices are green. Everything's okay with the indices, but then everything else is like goes to shit. Even IWM, which is taking a nasty beating. IWM is green as well. There were two short reports on it. Yes, two short reports on it that basically claimed the company is fraud, or the way they're using their metadata is a form of fraud. AppLovin is pulling down Google because Google is ad tech. You know, that makes sense. Trade Desk. Yeah, Trade Desk is down too. That actually explains Google. That explains Google. I mean, a lot of these stocks trade in buckets, and I don't think AppLovin has that much to do with Google, but if they're in the advertising bucket, then they're probably getting hit along with it. Meta is green though, even though Meta is an advertising app. So I guess the market's being a bit more selective there. Palantir right here, 90.47. Snowflake's up a little bit. Vertiv's up a little bit. Enphase is up a little bit. HIMS is up 7%. And then you got Hoodie trying to go for 49, up 6% on the day. Isn't the uptick rule applied to Tesla today? So no short sales for Tesla. Yes, it was down more than 10% yesterday. So that means that there's no short sales for a stock the day after it falls 10%. So yeah, I mean, a bounce on Tesla just off that thesis also wouldn't be that crazy to see. Palantir had more insider selling this week. That is correct. They did have more insider selling. Let me check yesterday if they had any insider selling. On Monday, I believe they had most of it. Yeah, none yesterday. So Monday and Tuesday is when you saw some insider selling. And it was close to, I think, 3 to 4 million shares. So nothing over the past couple, or nothing over yesterday, but we did have some insider selling on Monday. 49 looks very possible for Hood. We're 5 cents away. I think we get there. Nice reversal. And, you know, Hood to me is a proxy on the broader market reversing again, because I think Hood thrives in a bull market. So if the market wants to give Hood some love, there you go. We're back at 49. Then maybe the market's starting to reverse. The question becomes, is this a dead cat bounce or not? 50% of you said yes. Wow. So 50-50 on if this is a dead cat or not. Alibaba did put out a free-to-use video-generating AI model. I saw this news yesterday. Let's check on Baba right here. You know, they continue to innovate when it comes to AI, or at least when it comes to putting out new products. I don't know if these are brand new innovations or they're kind of, you know, copying a little bit of what the American tech companies have done. But 140 on Baba, they released a new large language model. They released a new video model. And then also DeepSeek today, they came out with some news. They're slashing the costs on their API by more than 75%. So if you're using OpenAI, for example, as your like backend infrastructure to make API calls on your like AI startup or whatever, DeepSeek is saying, hey, we're going to give you 75% off our API. And this is a 1-day discount where it's obviously it's like a marketing act, but I mean, if you're a startup that's been using GPT or Anthropic or any of these things, and you can get 75% off API calls and DeepSeek, which is, you know, not worse than any of those models. I mean, I think a lot of people would be taking this offer and taking it seriously. So I think we're just seeing more and more innovation on the inference levels, leading these companies to slash prices, which is great for just broader adoption of AI. But as a result, all of it hopefully does go back to NVIDIA, just having more demand for their chips. NASDAQ right here, 19,000. We got Big Bear AI up 8.4%. Palantir, $90.24. HIMS at $42.97. Robinhood again, $49.40. Robinhood looks like it wants 50. That would be an 8% reversal if we get to that $50 level. And then NVIDIA right here, 130. That's up 3% on the day. App is now unhalted. They are down 19%. They are now down 45% for the week. All-time high on this bad boy was 525. Wow. That is definitely coming down since then. Damn, dude, it's 525 on February 13th. Like 2 weeks ago, was that old? That's nasty, bro. 525 to 311 in 2 weeks is pretty disgusting. But there you go, down 17%, $105 billion market cap, unhalted right now. Did touch below 300 for a second. We'll see if it can get back there. Suraj, thank you for the $20 super chat. Amit, when is the next Robinhood Gold event? I don't know the exact date, but I do believe it's in March. So definitely will be happening later in March. Don't know exactly when they're going to be doing it, but they will be doing it later in March, and it would be exciting to see, what they have to announce at that event. David, thank you for the $27 super chat. Hey, Amit, there are 3 ultra innovative, disruptive private tech companies that I would love to invest in when they go public. Figure, Anduril, Databricks. Do you think they will go public within 3 years? I think Anduril and Databricks will go public by 2026. I think that's like very likely. Figure, I think is going to take some time. Figure, I don't think goes public until like 2029. I mean, like, unless they just grow like crazy and they really need the money, but I think it's going to be about 4 years. But Anduril and Databricks, I think they're going to go public really soon. And we haven't had any big names that went public yet. I mean, it's, we're supposed to be in IPO season and we're not really getting the IPOs yet. So I imagine by the second half of 25, as long as liquidity doesn't dry up, we should get some love. Grab right here is up 7%, 487 on Grab. So that one's getting a bit of a reversal. And then Robinhood again, very close to 50, 49.39. That's up 7.5% as well. Are you selling covered calls on Nvidia today? That is a great question. Let me know in the chat if you are doing so. I have decided not to. I am going to raw dog it today with Nvidia, and no protection will be used on these shares, and we're going to see if it works out. I feel like I should, bro. I feel like even if I sold like 160 covered calls, it wouldn't be crazy, but I also think this could be the quarter where like the street officially stops worrying about Nvidia, and then that comes with a good guide. I mean, they got to have a really good guide, and I don't know, dude. Like from the reports I'm reading, they're going to have a good guide. They're not going to have a horrible guide. The question is it going to be a great guide for the streets to get excited? Again, for revenue, they're expecting $38.3 billion. That's up 73% year over year. Data center revenue, $34.1 billion. That's up 85% year over year. They're expecting gross margins to be down 3% at 73.5. It can't come below 73.5, or else that would be really bad. And then EPS, they're expecting 85 cents, up 62% year over year. If Nvidia can do 40 billion instead of 38 billion, if they can do 36 instead of 34 on data center, if their gross margins could be 74 instead of 73.5, and EPS be 90 cents versus 84 cents, I think that's all you need for the quarter. And then if they can guide for a phenomenal Q1, then yeah, I think that Nvidia is going to be in a good situation. But we're going to have to see what they report at 4:05 today. I feel like nothing matters too until they report. Like if they like all this bounce that we're seeing as well, it's nice to see, but it is confirmed or denied by Nvidia today. Meta right here up 2%, Baba's up 5.7%, IWM's up 1.2, S&P's up almost 1, Nasdaq's up almost 1% as well. The Qs are going green, and then Nvidia just touching 131. Where is SMCI? SMCI, all right, it's giving up 5% of the pump, so it was up 20%. Now it's up 15. Maybe the Nvidia quarter also pumps up SMCI, but definitely have some people taking profits off that pump from yesterday. Amit, did I miss your Brett interview at Figure? No. So that one is coming out on Friday. I have the official date for that. That is coming out on Friday. I also have the podcast channel. I'm going to put this here in the chat. So this is the channel that it'll be posted on. I'm putting it down right here. If you guys could subscribe to that, that would mean the absolute world to me. This is going to be the podcast channel where all of the big interviews come out. I'll give a reminder again on Thursday before the podcast comes out. But yeah, this channel, it will only have big interviews. It won't have like daily videos. Hopefully we can get like monthly podcasts on this thing, but this is going to be the channel that only has the big names. And so that one will be out on Friday. I'm excited for that one. I've been editing it all week. I think it's going to be fun. Seeing the robot walk in the background is freaking crazy, dude. It's just wild, but it's going to be a fun one. That is such a great profile pic on the channel. Thank you. It's a picture of a black screen because I don't know what... Dude, someone's got to... Like, I don't even know what to call this podcast, bro. You guys got to help me. Like, I just called it the Amit Kagreja podcast. And I'm like, well, that's innovative, I guess. So you guys got to help me, bro. Like, I don't know what to call this podcast. I don't want some tacky name like I don't know, Inside Tech or some stupid thing, or like the world's greatest entrepreneurs. Like I just kind of want, like, I don't even know if I want a name. I just want it to be a podcast. Like the branding of it, I'm not that like big on. I think, look, I'm convinced a podcast, by the way, Robin at 5 cents away from 50. I'm convinced a podcast in this day and age grows based on the quality of your guests. If you have the right guests, your podcast will grow. Obviously, you have to understand the algorithm and all that stuff. But like if you try to start a podcast and you don't have good guests, your podcast goes nowhere. Like there's just like, you might as well not even try. And I'm so serious about that. If you try to do a podcast and you don't have big name guests, there's just no world in which the algorithm can recommend it to people on any of the social platforms. So I think if it's any type of like real podcast that tries to like compete with the Joe Rogans of the world, which is basically who you're competing with, right? Because he has the best guests, you got to have some quality of good guests. But I don't know what to call that type of podcast. Like Lex Friedman, he just calls it the Lex Friedman podcast. I'm like, all right, so he just calls it his name. So it's like, is that the way to do it? Like you just call it your name? I also feel it's kind of narcissistic to call it your name, but I don't know. Pouncer right here, 90.23. Robin getting rejected at 49.99. It was close, but it got rejected right there. 49.66. We'll see if he can get back to 250. The Massachusetts podcast. Oh, that reminds me of Massachusetts. Okay, so I don't know if we're having a March meetup, guys. I think we're going to have to cancel the March meetup. The reason for that is because I will be in California 2 times in March in the Bay Area. We already did a Bay Area meetup. The reason Massachusetts reminded me of this is because I thought I was going to do Boston in March, but now it's looking like the other 2 weekends are going to be occupied as well. So it's not definitive. I think if the weekend I'm thinking, which is the 20th to the 22nd, is not occupied in March, then I think we're going to be able to do a meetup, probably in Boston. That's what I'm looking at for March. That's the one weekend I think is free, but the other weekends are definitely occupied. So if we can't do a meetup in March, then we will double up on one of the preceding months, whether it's April, May, or whatever. But if we can, it looks like Boston's going to be the next meetup for March. And hopefully we're able to do that. Ticker talks with Amit, beyond the bell with Amit. I don't like it. Dude. I'm going to be so skeptical of every name. I don't, the fake brick wall. I don't like, I don't know, dude. Margin Call, the podcast, the bell with Amit. Like, see, all these names, dude, they're creative, but I don't feel them. Like, as like who knows, bro? What if like Zuckerberg comes on the podcast one? What if Elon comes on the podcast? Like, I don't want to be like, hey guys, you're tuning into the bell with Amit. I'm here with Elon Musk. It's like, no, dude, that sounds stupid. Like, it's just like none of it. Like, I can't think of any name that encapsulates what the podcast could be, other than my name, which is super basic. But I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out over the long term. Bricked up with Amit. That is that's a hell of a name. That's a hell of a name. Bricked up with Amit. That's a good one. Amit is podcasting. That's actually funny. My Twitter name is Amit is investing, dude. Dude, my Twitter name is wild, bro. Like 4 years ago, I was like, what should be my name on Twitter? Amit is investing. And now I look back and I'm like, it's not a horrible name, but it's like, okay, so Amit is investing. That's going to be my handle forever now. Because you can't change your Twitter handle. Like at this point, now that my Twitter account is where it's at, like you can't, changing your handle is just like not an option. So till I'm 100 years old, I will be Amit is investing. Pouncer right here, 89.98. That's up 2.4%. Grab 483, holding on to 5.92%. So getting a little bit of reversal right here. Volume on Grab is really small too, only 6 million shares. Nothing too crazy, but still getting a nice boost. Tesla at 304, General Motors at 50, CleanSpark at 820, Riot right here at 937. The Not Bad at All podcast. That's another good one. I don't know. I think I'll find a name eventually, but for now, I just want to get good guests, dude. And we have some other guests besides Figure. Like I've got some stuff lined up. Like I really think we can get some really good guests, like some people that it would be a privilege to sit down and talk with. And it's really just momentum, right? Once you get one guest, you get the next guest, and then the other guest looks at, dude, I got a DM the other day by someone, and I could not believe who the hell DM'd me. Like I was on the phone with Steve during the time. I was like, Steve, this guy just DM'd me. And he was like, you're fucking lying. I was like, I'm not lying, bro. He DM'd me. And I can't say his name because he might be on a podcast, so I'm not going to give it away. But he freaking said, hey, Amit, you don't know me, but I bought Palantir at 30 because I saw your tweets and I'm very grateful for you. And I almost threw my phone away. I could not believe the level of caliber of that person. First of all, made an investment decision from seeing my tweets. It just lets you know all these rich people, dude, they don't give a shit about anything other than like momentum. And if they see people are talking about something and people are excited, they'll buy into it. Like that's it. They're not looking at the 10K and the financials and all this shit. And so obviously he's up a lot of money. Given the guy's net worth, I think he probably put minimum 10 million into Palantir, and that's being very conservative. I would imagine he put in the tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, into Palantir, given how rich he is. And then I said, yeah, dude, thank you for keeping up the content. He was like, yo, if you're ever in Miami, hit me up. And I'm like, all right, cool. So on the Miami meetup, maybe we get to do a podcast with him and we'll see how this plays out. So he does live in Miami. That's the hint. He lives in Miami, but that's not that good of a hint because a lot of rich people live in Miami. But it was just wild, bro. Like it was insane. Steve wouldn't believe it. Steve didn't believe. He was just like, "There's no." I'm like, Steve, like I'm this like he DM me. So I mean, it just and it goes to show. There's another reason why I'm so grateful for Palantir. It's like if I didn't have, the ability to discuss a company like Palantir and analyze them, there would be none of these connections. Which is why it's just so amazing what Palantir has done for all of us as a community, bring everyone together. But it's gotten a lot of people interested in the story of what it means to invest in some of these growth stocks that can end up changing the world. SMCI right here up 17%, Robinhood up 8.1%. There's no reason Robinhood is up outside of a natural reversal. I don't think there's like any headline or anything. I just think they got oversold yesterday. Like a lot of the market got oversold, and that's why they're rebounding right here. Palantir is still at 89, so not holding 90 yet. No, it's at 90.2. And then Tesla is at 304. So Tesla at least holding 300 and not getting hit below 300. Hims is up 10%. Wow, dude. Freaking Hims. What a monster. 10%. I know it's down from 70, but still nice reversal from yesterday as well. Peter says it's me. I live in Miami. Shout out to Peter. Peter, definitely going to be giving you a visit once we do the meetup in Miami. But I didn't realize, dude, how many rich people live in Miami, bro. There's like a lot of people that are just very wealthy, and they don't pick New York. They don't pick LA. They pick freaking Miami. That's where they want to stay. And it's like, I guess it makes sense. You got good weather. You have the East Coast time when it comes to finance. You do have a tech scene that's developing in Miami. And then it's Miami, right? It's like one of the funnest cities in the world. So, Amit, are you going to Future Proof? I am not, but that happens in Miami, right? I feel like that happens in Miami, that conference. No taxes, great weather. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, bro. I was thinking about the other day. I was on the phone with Derek. Derek obviously lives in Miami. He was like, bro, you should move here. And I was like, dude, as much as I love New York, if I'm paying the type of rent I was going to pay in Jersey City, like I could pay that same rent in Miami, probably get a lot more square footage. And it's Miami, bro. It's I feel like the nightlife in Miami has to be a different type of nightlife than New York. And I don't know, I'm 27. I feel like I got a good 3-4 years left of like really getting to be like a full-on bachelor and party and stuff. And I'm like, Miami would be fun, dude. That would be fun. It would be really nice weather every single day. Like, we don't have to worry about the cold. It would be cool. It'd be very cool. Google just went green. Okay, Google just went green. Google announced today that 1 billion people are watching podcasts on YouTube. That's another reason why, if you have a podcast, it has to be on YouTube. I mean, like it's like YouTube is the place where people consume podcasts. So 1 billion people per month now, I believe was the announcement this morning by Google, are watching video podcasts. Netflix is trying to get into video podcasts as well. It wouldn't surprise me if some of these big podcasters get a deal to license their content to Netflix because of how much people are watching video podcasts. Shout out to Evan. This is his tweet right here showing this stat about 1 billion people. But there's definitely more and more excitement for video podcasting that is growing across the entire industry. Go to Miami. You need a Latina in your life, bro. Dude, Miami would be so much fun. I feel like it'd be so much fun. I feel like in the summer, bro, I need to do a week vacation in Miami and then really see what it feels like to live there and then make the decision if I want to move there. because it's still the East Coast too, so it's not that far from my family. Like it's a 2-hour flight to see them, if anything. And for the money I'd be paying for rent, I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference. And the taxes, I mean, would be so much better than freaking New Jersey taxes. So I don't know. Maybe there's a world. Maybe there's a world where Miami happens. But it would be cool. It would be very cool. In my opinion, you need to go into the winter so that you have a better sense. Yeah, that's fair. That's also a fair point. But from what I've heard, Miami winters are not bad. I mean, 65, 70 degrees is not too horrible. Austin is the podcast mecca. You want to be a top podcaster, you got to be in Austin. I've heard this many times. I just don't like Texas. Not that I don't like it as in like it's a bad place or anything. I've never been a fan of Texas. Like I've been to Texas many times. I can never imagine myself living there, dude. Like I don't know, but I never thought about it. But Austin, I know, is becoming like the place when it comes to content. And obviously got a lot of big podcasters there. No taxes as well. I just feel like my heart's in New York. If I were ever leaving New York, it would be Miami. I would not be California. That's for damn sure. I'm done with California, but I don't know if Texas could play out. You can't make markets in California and Texas. Yeah, that's the other part. It's not as friendly towards the finance part of the world. All right, let's get an update from CNBC on new home sales. We have that data right now, and then we will keep going from there and get some of the other updates that we are looking for.
Got some new home sales out a few moments ago. Let's get to Rick Santelli. Morning, Rick.
Good morning, Carl. Indeed, these are January new home sales. Remember, there may be a weather effect. People are trying to decide if the California fires will have a future effect. But one thing I could tell you is it's a weak number. 657,000 seasonally adjusted annualized units. We're expecting a number about 30,000 higher. And last month had a huge revision from under 700,000 over to 734,000, which would have made it the strongest level since May of 23, which means we're now down, 74,000? That's basically a 10% move lower. And do remember, if you look at bank rate 30-year fixed for the month of January, its average was around 7.3%. So that's an issue as well. Existing home sales keep inventory generally tight, but there is a pipeline of new construction we need to keep an eye on. And to dig even further into this number, let's go to Diana Olick. Diana?
Well, Rick, you said it. This is all about mortgage rates. We saw rates go into the 7% range in January and keep moving higher. They started at 7.07% on the 30-year fixed in January 1st, moved to 7.26% by mid-month and stayed there all month. Of course, they've come down now, but these numbers are based on signed contracts. That is, people out shopping during the month of January, signing those contracts on newly built homes. And by the way, the price of a newly built home, $446,300 was the median in January. That is up 3.7% year over year. It's interesting because
so we sold less homes, but the average price per home is up. Mortgage rates are down a little bit today, but nonetheless, the housing market continues to desperately need a rate cut from the Fed.
the builder sentiment numbers that we got last week, which showed a big drop in sentiment, also noted that builders were not doing as many incentives, not because they thought they would help them or they wouldn't help them. It's because they felt that there was such a great divide between those who could afford a new home and those who couldn't, that incentives really weren't going to move the needle on those who simply couldn't afford the home. Because again, that is a high median price. Supply has moved up to a 9-month supply. 6 is usually balanced between buyer and seller. So this drop again is largely due to what I think is mortgage rates moving well over 7% and concern in the economy. Rates again are down into the 6% range now, 6.8% as of yesterday. But I would note that consumer sentiment noted specifically that people were concerned about buying big ticket items, especially homes, because they were concerned about the future of the economy, costs, inflation, et cetera. So the builders, they're not going to love this. Back to you, Sarah.
Okay, so the housing market continues to be annoying. The 10-year coming down is definitely going to help, hopefully, with that mortgage rate getting back below 6.5, which would be a blessing at this point. Palantir getting a reversal and selling off. What are your guys' thoughts on Palantir? Let's talk a little bit about Palantir here. 88.97. Are people freaking out? Are they sad? Are you having to deal with your family members text you saying, what the hell's going on? Are you buying the dip? Are you selling? Are you getting covered calls? Are you taking profits? I had to deal with my sister yesterday saying, why is my Palantir going down? And I was like, do you even know why it went up? And she was like, no, not really. I was like, all right. So like, It goes up, it goes down. It is what it is. But yeah, how are you guys feeling about Palantir right now? I'm actually, dude, I mean, I know it sucks. It's not at 125 anymore. I get it. But also at 125, it was a $300 billion company. I think the valuation is a bit more reasonable right now, even though the valuation still is extended, in my opinion, at $207 billion. I think if we can form a base around 85 to 90 going into next earnings, that would be very, very, very productive for Palantir. And that would eliminate some of the fears of this thing collapsing back to 70, 60, which if you hate 80, you're not going to like 60 or 70. So I'd rather have this and be flat for the next few months than collapse back down to those levels. Obviously, selfishly, if it does get back there, I know a lot of people would want to buy that dip, probably want to buy more shares. I would want to buy that dip as well, but it would be annoying, right? To give up all of those gains. So that's my perspective. My perspective is if we can hold these levels, then I would be happy. We would just have to really be able to consolidate at these levels. Brian said, I'm buying. Peace for Joy said, I'm adding Palantir. Arnie said, I'm positive because people are nervous. I think that's a fair point. We are seeing the most nervousness ever than we've seen in a while on Palantir. John said, I sold all my Palantir with a 520% profit. Congrats. You deserve those gains. So not bad to take some of these profits right here. Yosh says, I still love the company, hoping to buy in the high 70s. Zach said, I bought some more shares. Yeah, most of you guys, I mean, the sentiment I'm getting from the comments are that, hey, like, if it consolidates at this level, this is not a horrible thing. I agree. I mean, look, is there a world where I think this could get really nasty and keep going down? Yeah, I think it would really need, there's two scenarios. A, macro, which we've had bad macro for the past 2 days. We'll see what happens in March and April. That could definitely take it down. But B, Palantir would have to mess up on earnings. And the one thing I'm confident on this year, Palantir is not missing earnings. If anything, Palantir is going to beat and raise aggressively on earnings. Now, maybe they don't put up like 70% growth, but they're definitely not going to be stagnant at 31% growth. I mean, they did 36% in Q4. So from that perspective, I think the Palantir story will continue. Alex Karp's book is we're going to find out today if it's a New York Times bestseller, but it was number 4 on Amazon last week. I think right now it's number 40. So in terms of marketing, more people discovering Palantir, that's definitely going very well. It's just a question of earnings growth, being able to keep the stock at these levels, if not expand the multiple. Multiple already is very aggressive, which is why I'm saying if we hold these levels, that would be good. But those are my current thoughts right now on Palantir. We also have DevCon that's happening. DevCon 2 is happening right now for Palantir. Chad is at DevCon right now. CodeStrap's at DevCon. So that is going on, and we'll probably get some updates from DevCon later throughout the week. AppLovin is getting hit. AppLovin is down 22%. Wow, 293. 525 to 293. What if they miss earnings? If they miss earnings, Palantir is going to fall badly, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I think their guide was rather conservative. I also think the analysts don't believe them at all. So the analysts keep having these really crappy expectation numbers, which is actually amazing for Palantir because then they get to beat them. You know, it's all a game of psychology. And every time the analysts put out these expectations, Palantir beats them nicely. And still the analyst expectations are well below what Palantir is guiding for. So I don't think they're going to miss earnings, but if they do, that's not going to be good. It's just, you wouldn't expect them to miss earnings, given all the AI momentum, all the hype, all the ability for them to capitalize via boot camps, etc. I don't think they would be missing any of those earnings. Some of the best companies have dropped 50 to 75% on the way up. That is correct. I mean, that's something that everyone has to get used to if that does end up happening. I was talking with Steve last night. Steve definitely thinks that this thing is not going to be able to even hold these levels. And that's where I disagree with Steve, right? Like, could Palantir collapse from 89 back to freaking 65 or 70? Of course, anything's possible. But I think he's a little too confident about this. And I think at some level, we have to have some humility here. And like, I don't say buy back all your covered calls, but if you're really underwater, you got a 30% drawdown. Like, yeah, you're going to have to pay a little money to get out of those covered calls, but at least it's not the enormous amounts of money you would have to pay if it was 125. So either you're just convinced this thing is going lower, or you're convinced this can consolidate. And I kind of think it consolidates more than it has to go lower, but I wouldn't be surprised if it takes another dip. S&P 500 up 0.71%. Meta's up 2.5%. Nvidia's up 3.4%. Nvidia holding on to 131 very nicely before earnings. Robinhood at 49.44 has not touched 50 yet. 50 is that psychological support that would be nice to get. Google still red, but basically flat. HIMS is up 11%, and then Tesla rebounding 1.3% on the day. Wow, Bitcoin over 88. Oh, that's probably helping Hood as well. Yeah, look at that, 85 to 88. That's a nice 3.5% reversal. on Bitcoin here. Getting some love. Definitely getting some love. Hey, Amit, what do you think the impact would be for Palantir's buyback? So I don't know if Palantir bought back like, I think 1 million shares last quarter of there's less than 1 million shares, something like it was a very small amount. I don't know. I mean, so the question is, did the company feel they deserve to be at 125? Because if Robinhood felt they deserve to be at 66 and now they're back at 49, Robinhood has $700 million they can deploy for a buyback. They might think, okay, 49 is a good price. Let's buy back our stock. If Palantir never thought they deserved to be 125 and they got back to 88, they might not think 88 is the best price to buy back their stock. So technically, I do think they would deploy some of that cash just off the sheer fact that they're down 30%, and that's when you tend to buy the dip. But it depends on how confident they feel about the stock price being undervalued at these levels. Now, here's the other thing. They never expected them to run up this quick, right? So when they authorized the $1 billion share buyback, they started buying aggressively back when it was 22, but then it just kind of got away from them, like it got away from a lot of people. And they didn't really expedite the buybacks because it just kept going up. So I think they're saving that. If they don't spend on buybacks, they're at least getting some treasury income from that money, which I think is really good. At least that helps their net income as well. But it wouldn't surprise me if they start dabbling in at these levels, given we're now down 30%. Amit, can you explain why all software companies have huge SBC? Axon has the same issue. It's wild how SBC is provided to employees. Snow, CrowdStrike, the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I've never been in a tech company, and I've never been granted massive amounts of stock-based compensation. But my understanding as an investor is these tech companies really need to get the best talent. And in order to get the best talent, they're going to spend as much money as possible to be able to accumulate that talent. That requires giving out stock. The beautiful thing is, as per SEC laws and accounting laws, you don't have to necessarily recognize a lot of those stock-based comp expenses as hits to your bottom line. And so you can kind of give out a lot of SBC and still be able to put up decent earnings because it doesn't necessarily count as an expense theoretically. But Warren Buffett, by the way, if you read his thoughts on SBC, he's always thought it's bullshit. Like Warren Buffett for the past 10 years has said, why isn't SBC like a legit expense? Because like it's money you're spending for talent. But nonetheless, most companies don't report it as a huge expense. So because they don't have to report it as a huge expense and they need the best talent in the world, they're going to try to acquire that talent as well as they can. And the best way is to incentivize via stock options. Now, here's another reason. My cousin actually works at a tech company in California, and she immigrated from India. Another reason why you get these lucrative packages is because the tech companies don't want to pay out that much cash, because cash is a real expense in regards to labor that hurts their bottom line, whereas SBC is not. So if you can give someone a ton of stock and not have to pay them a $500,000 salary, the other upside to this is that if your stock tanks, sucks to suck. Right? Like it sucks that the stock tanks, but at least our cash is not being given away to these employees. Our stock price is going down, and that hurts the employees' morale potentially, but it doesn't actually hurt the bottom line of the business to an extent because it's not real money they have to give away. So I think that's why companies do it. The other beautiful thing about America is that software companies are the ones that have the best ability to give away that much money because they're making such amazing profits. When you have 81% gross margins, when your rule of 40 is at 80%, yeah, you can afford to give out a lot of stock, and people can believe in the vision of the stock going higher because tech companies tend to get these insane multiples like a CrowdStrike, like a Datadog, like a Snowflake, like a Salesforce, like a Palantir, and people buy into that vision. So I think it's about accumulating talent, but it's also about making sure that that talent actually is incentivized to work. And the best incentive is not cash. It's a stock price that can keep going higher. Here is the professor on Nvidia. We saw, I didn't see this yesterday, but this was posted yesterday. So let's take a little bit of a preview of what he thinks is going on with Nvidia and why he thinks Nvidia potentially is not going to have the best earnings.
The Dean of Valuation, Aswath Damodaran of NYU Stern School of Business, is here with us at Post 9. It's great to have you here in person.
Great to be back.
So when you think about Nvidia, the stock really hasn't traded well into the print, which is unusual in and of itself. But how do you see it today?
No, in September, when they came out with that bad earnings report, I valued them about $90 before the election, before the market downturn. And they were trading at 108. Today, they're trading at 128. So in terms of perspective, even with the beating they've taken in the last few weeks, the stock is still $20 higher than it was in September of 2024. So I think that at that time, I said the stock is a great company, but I don't see how you can get to 100 and $120, $130 per share.
Still?
No, I think that's still, what I said then will still hold. They don't have the capacity in terms of generating earnings and cash flows to sustain a $3 trillion market cap. No. So I think that still stands. And I think as the earnings report comes out tomorrow, my expectation is going to be a lot like September, a replay of September, where they will beat analyst expectations, but the market's going to be disappointed because the market seems to have set expectations higher than what analysts are seeing for the company.
They would say, I mean, Professor, have you seen the CapEx numbers of these hyperscalers, what they say they're going to spend? And a large part of that, if not the majority, is going to go to us. Yeah. And we know that it is. And you pay a little bit more for future growth like we're going to give you where you can't get anywhere else.
Now, if you back out from the market cap, what their break even has to be in terms of revenues, it's about $500 billion in revenues. So even if you bring in all of the spending by Meta and Microsoft, that still gets you to maybe $300 billion, $350 billion. The market is actually building in a surplus over and above that of other people coming into the game and spending immense amounts. So this is not a question of, people are spending more than expected. That CapEx spending was already there in September. It scaled up. With DeepSeek, the question is, are there other people who might have entered the game who are not going to enter the game now because their response is, I don't need those Nvidia chips. For what I'm doing, I can get there with much cheaper chips.
You think that's a new risk? Have you been thinking about it differently since the DeepSeek day?
No, in fact, I revalued it right after the DeepSeek.
You did? You think it's that profound of a change?
My value dropped by about $10 because in my view, what it does, it reduces the total size of the segment of the AI market that needs high-powered chips and immense amounts of data. Because whether DeepSeek is a fake or whether it's going to pass by, what it opened people's eyes to, not all AI products and services need these incredibly powerful chips and huge amounts of data and huge data centers that you can get there with much cheaper devices. And I think for many companies, when they look at the AI products and services they have to develop, they don't need this high-powered stuff. They don't need to spend the tens of billions of dollars up front. So I think that's the real worry you have to have as an NVIDIA investor, is whether those people will now hold back and buy cheaper chips and build cheaper centers.
Did you at the same time...
How many people agree? How many people agree? I disagree for this one reason, and that's Arnie's comment in the chat. My value dropped $10 after DeepSeek. I don't think DeepSeek is necessarily the linchpin that destroys NVIDIA's demand. So that's kind of my main reason I disagree. Again, this guy's been a bit bearish in NVIDIA for a while. He's owned it for a long time. I think he sold 50% of his stake 8 months ago. I just don't think DeepSeek is the reason why NVIDIA deserves to be back at $90.
While downgrading, for lack of a better word, NVIDIA, did you upgrade something else?
Not yet, because I think what this is going to do is it's going to commoditize the product and service business. The AI product, we're all going to see more AI stuff because it's going to be cheaper and easier to deliver it. But I'm not sure any of us is going to be willing to pay for most of this stuff, because I look at the AI stuff that I'm being offered as a consumer, and my reaction, it's neat, it's cute, but I'm not paying $5 a month or $10 a month. It's different, I think, in the business AI segment. That's where the NVIDIA chips and the big data will continue to prosper. I don't see anybody benefiting from the commoditizing of the rest of the AI business, because it's going to be free stuff that everybody gets and nobody's able to make money off.
So look, his point comes down to AI is not going to have a real ROI, definitely not for the consumer, maybe for the businesses. And as a result, NVIDIA's chips are not going to be that high in demand. I think that is a mainstream perspective from NVIDIA bears that I can understand people having. I don't think that's going to be how the story plays out. And here's one way to explain why I don't think that's how the story plays out. Take a look at this. This is a full-on flight simulator that was coded in Cursor AI, which is an AI coding assistant. The person said, I've never made a game before, and I just made my own flight simulator 100% with Cursor, I'd say in 3 hours, by just telling it what I wanted. It didn't go 100% smooth, but 80% yes. A few times I had to go back to previous versions and keep asking the same thing, but I love this AI vibe coding. It can be very fun, and this whole flight simulation is in one HTML file. This is going to be like children's play in the next 5 years, given where AI is going. And so the reason I'm saying, he says there's no consumer use case. And like right now, yes, like the main consumer use cases, you pay for GPT, Grok, or whatever. But I think the use cases are just getting started. Obviously, there's a lot more business use cases, and Palantir has shown many case studies on how they're accelerating growth because of demand for AI-enabled operating systems. But if you can code up an entire flight simulator in 3 hours, like I can only imagine the types of ideas people have over the coming years, at least over the coming decade, for people to use AI in a more productive way. And all of this at the end of the day will depend still on those GPUs. Even if it's not going to be a 1000% Nvidia's market, because there's going to be margins that get competed away. You're going to get Amazon and Google, and they're going to have their own chips and all this stuff. But it does not mean that the market is fake or that the market is not real. And I think what Aswath is saying essentially in his valuation model is that this is a market that is unsustainably elevated. He thinks that there's no way you can get to a $3 trillion market cap on Nvidia. And I don't know. I disagree with that. I think there's going to be enough growth to end up justifying it. So yeah, dude, anything's going to be possible. I mean, forget the AI assistants that everyone thinks is going to, like, there's going to be, this thing is going to be on steroids. It's going to be on a level that I don't think any of us have seen before. I've been using Grok 3 a lot. I'm working on a side project right now, and it does involve some coding. And so I've been using Grok 3 to kind of just like conceptually talk about the thing that I'm trying to build. And then also more materially understand like the variables and algorithms that are needed to effectively build it. And it's just, dude, it's one of the, it is like I don't think if we went back to like 1990 and told someone what a computer would be able to do when the computers were first getting started, like the World Wide Web was such a big deal. And now it's like this thing that just does everything for you and can understand natural language. It is incredible. It's incredible. And I think the hype is real on Grok 3. I mean, I was talking about it on Monday, but like, I really do think Grok 3 is better than GPT and a lot of the other models. It's only going to get better and better and better. So to me, if it needs to get better, it needs more NVIDIA chips. I think the thesis on that is very simple. AMD I do think is undervalued here, but I don't think AMD is the winner in the next 5 years when it comes to the chip race. So I think NVIDIA is the answer. But today's earnings is going to be important to see how this ends up playing out. I haven't used 3.7 yet on Claude. I haven't used Claude yet. I used Claude actually when I was in California. I was playing with Claude, but I was using the version right before 3.7. So I have to check out that new one. Why is Tesla red? Is Tesla going red? Why is Tesla tanking? Tesla was doing so well today. It was at 310. Why is it back at 298? What is going on here? What is going on here? Kirby, thank you for the $5 super chat. How about Founders Unfiltered for your podcast name? I like that name. The problem is I don't think the podcast is going to be only about founders. The person who DM'd me that I was telling you about on Twitter, he is not a founder. He's just a really important person, I would say, in regards to business and tech, but he's not necessarily a founder. So I don't want to limit it to just like entrepreneurs. I want to be able to talk to like anybody. Like I legit want it to be like a Joe Rogan type of podcast. I think that's the most successful type of a podcast. Can you speak to anybody and have a conversation? That is the Goldilocks zone of being a successful podcaster. And I think I can do it. But I don't know what the hell to name it. Like, like the Amit Kukreja experience, which would just be a ripoff of Joe Rogan. So I don't want the branding to be limiting of the type of guests, but eventually we'll find out what the name looks like. Tesla 298. I'm trying to see if there's any headline here that's tanking Tesla. That is weird, bro. Tesla was green for the far majority of the past hour, maybe a little bit of a 1030 slump. Yeah, that's why it's hard to trust it right now, dude. It is not really showing much support above these levels. I don't see any headline. I don't see any headline. This looks like either algos that came in or people that decided to take profits here right now. It is not Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone's an interesting guy, but I don't. It was not Grant Cardone. Although he's in Miami as well, dude. All these guys, they're all in Miami. Hello, everybody. That should be the name of the podcast. Yes, that should be the name of the podcast. I can never name it Talking Straight. You guys would never let me name it Talking Straight. The jokes every day of naming it Talking Straight would be. I don't even want to see those jokes every day. I don't even want to see it. Dude, why is this thing tanking? 295? That's lower than yesterday. What is going on right here? Is the rest of the market getting hit? Robinhood's holding up. SMCI holding up really nicely, up 22%. Baba is up 5%. Meta's up. This is a Tesla thing, bro. This is not the rest of the market. This is Tesla. Even Nvidia holding 131. This is a Tesla thing. I wonder why. This is weird. It might just NASDAQ's dumping. Okay, hold on. Is the NASDAQ actually dumping? The NASDAQ is, dude, the NASDAQ's up 1%. I think you guys are trolling. The NASDAQ is not dumping. Are the Qs dumping a little bit? The Qs, even the Qs are up 0.5%. Yeah, no, the Qs are fine. The tech is fine. It's a Tesla thing. And the tech is fine because Nvidia's up right now. This is Tesla that's dragging it down. But it's getting hit right here. PayPal is red too. Oh, didn't Lemonade have earnings, dude? Did we talk about Lemonade? Hold on. Lemonade. That was yesterday, right? Lemonade's down 5%. I don't think I looked at their numbers, but I think we forgot to mention it last night. Lemonade, they beat revenue by 2.8%. They beat EPS by about 3%, but they missed on their guidance by 1%. That's why they're down 4%. Now they're down 5.6%. I don't know this company too well, $2.15 billion company in the insurance space, but looks like guidance was off a little bit. Tesla right here, 295, continuing to go down. Palantir just went red. All right, now we're getting some reversals across the market. Robinhood's Robinhood's, it's down from 49.90, but it's at 49, so that's not too bad of a reversal. Rocket Lab, are we red on Rocket Lab? We're still green on Rocket Lab. Google, still flat. And then HIMS was up 11%. HIMS is currently, HIMS is still up 10.13%. I mean, like, yeah, you're getting a little bit of a sell-off from the very tops of today, but that's not Tesla. Tesla is just straight down. Tesla is just going straight down. 1030 dump, yeah. 1030 dump as well. It didn't even pause at 300. Yeah, it just straight went for the 290s here. The podcast name should be It Is What It Is. I can't name it my catchphrases. Like, I can't name it Not Bad at All, It Is What It Is, or Fake Bricks. Like, because only you guys know about that stuff. Like, the market open and our inside jokes are so different from like a podcast. It's funny, just if the podcast actually does blow up and it becomes a real podcast, I wonder how many of those, like, imagine Lex Friedman did a market open every day, right? Lex Friedman has like, what, 5 million subscribers? Like, could you imagine those people that probably watch his podcast for like intellectual discussions or whatever, found out that he does this like 3-hour show every morning looking at green candles and red candles? Like, I feel like if the podcast ever does blow up and we have like a new audience on the podcast side that sees me as this like intellectually curious communicator, and then they find out about what I actually do, which is markets, it would be kind of wild, right? Because you would just have all these new people, A, that might get interested in the stock market, but B, might be like, this guy rings a bell with fake bricks in his background. Like, I thought he just interviewed CEOs. Like, who is this guy? Like, it would be such a culture shock combining those two worlds together. It's kind of like when my friends find out what I like. Sometimes I get text messages from my friends and they like come across my YouTube videos. They're like, dude, you do this? I'm like, yeah, it's like a thing. And they're like, oh, cool. It's like, you can't even explain it, bro. Like, oh, I forgot to tell you guys, I met my old debate coach at California, who coached me for like 5 years, and I'm still good friends with him. But we haven't, I haven't updated him that much about my life, but he recently got married and stuff. So I met him in California, and he was like, so what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I have this show in the morning, and I talk about the stock market. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And that's it. We didn't go any further from there. Like, it's like, cause like, how do you explain it? Right. He didn't ask any questions. I didn't give any more details. I was like, yeah, that's what I do every day. And I don't know what he's thinking of that. I don't know what his perception of that is, but in general, he was just like, all right, cool. I guess as long as they're happy. But he has no idea. Like there's this whole community and there's like people that care about it. And, the markets are like a cultural event every single day and what's happening, because he's not in the stock market. I mean, he doesn't care about markets. So it's just crazy whenever you try to explain what you're doing to people. Robinhood right here, 49.25 up 7.2%. SMCI up 21%. BABA still holding on. Tesla trying to get a reversal from 294, which was the bottom. Now we're here at 298. You guys have a lot of interesting names, but these names are not going to work, bro. Like, bricked up with a mitt is not going to work. We're not doing that. Did you ask Grok for name ideas? I did not. I should ask Grok. I did not ask Grok yet. Amit's audibles. Nails with a mitt. Okay, now you're being funny. Now you guys are being funny. Nails with a mitt. Speaking of nails, bro, I broke my nail in California. I was kind of upset, dude. I was like, now I knew what girls feel like when they break their nail, dude. I was trying to open a door and it just cracked. I was like, okay, this is annoying. My nail broke. But It is what it is. I was annoyed though, bro. When I saw, I was like, damn it, bro. Like, it just fucking got my nails done. Now it's lines with a mitt. Oh my God, dude. Admitting the truth. You guys have some, these are good names. They're just not going to work for a general podcast. Oh, we're definitely not putting mayo in the name. That's not happening. Grinding in mayo. That's not happening. I want to see a podcast episode with Steve more than any random guest, dude. Once I move out, we're gonna have. Look, if I stay in Jersey, Steve, I talked about this with Steve already. Me and Steve have discussed doing a weekly podcast in person together. Like, we really seriously discussed it. We just need a studio and like a place to actually make it happen. And if I stay in Jersey and I get the spot, I think that could be a thing, dude. I think it would be really fun if we do that. And he's local, so he could definitely come by every week and actually make it happen. So we'll see. We'll see if it plays out. Why are you moving out? Well, I'm 27. At this point, it's time to move out. So, yeah, that's why I'm moving out. Honestly, dude, it's time, dude. At some point in life, like, it's just you gotta move out. And I enjoyed like living on my own for 4 years in college. It's just the past 5 years been trying to figure out life, get things together. I finally think I have enough financial security to move out and like comfortably move out. Like, I'm not going to be struggling when I move out. So I do think this was the right decision to take a couple of years and just like get shit figured out, because, you know, I want to move out and I want to live in a really nice spot. I want to have money to actually go out, and I want to, you know, I want to be comfortable. And so sometimes you need to save a decent amount of money to actually be comfortable to be able to move out. Yeah, dude. So Tesla's still red. I'm trying to see what other headlines we have going on. Nvidia 130. Let's see what other headlines we got going on the street. Nothing too crazy. Everyone's on edge for Nvidia. That's going to be important. 3:45, I'll be live with Jose. Trump's going to be signing executive orders at 3 p.m. Amazon has rebuilt Alexa with generative AI. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy says Alexa usage has jumped 20% year over year in 2024, and they're investing more in AI than any other company. So we have some Alexa updates. We talked about the January new home sales. We talked about App Lovin'. We talked about Nvidia, Lucid downgrade. GM got some buybacks. Yeah, nothing else besides that. I mean, everything else is pretty much okay. Tom says, Amit, I'm heading to a first UK Robinhood event tomorrow. Very excited. Wow, I didn't even know they're doing a Robinhood event in the UK. Cool. You got to tweet us some pictures and let us know how that goes. I'm happy they're starting to officially market in the UK, because they have not really done any marketing. And now that they have options, they can probably actually entice people to join the platform. So that is a good thing on their part to finally get a little bit more momentum in that part of the world. Dude, you guys have a lot of names, bro. There's actually not horrible ideas. I gotta compile all the names from the chat. You guys have a decent amount of them. Davis says, Amit, I have the perfect name. Check your text. Davis says, pod name, in between stocks. Davis, that name is horrible. That's what? In between stocks? What, Davis? I'm sorry. That's not a good. That's in between stocks. Are you trying to do like in between ferns? Are you trying to do a like a comment like that was the old one, in between two ferns with this one. This was an old one. It was an American talk show. Between two stocks. Yeah, that's not. I'm not even trying to be mean, bro. The chat thinks it was trash as well, dude. Between two stocks is like, I don't even know what. Again, I don't want it to be a stock market podcast. It's a podcast, and we might have some stock market people on the podcast, but I want to be able to talk to anybody, bro. Because I genuinely do think, dude. I think the line of questions and the communication skills I have I could talk to political people. I could talk to philosophical people. I could talk to business people. I think I could really talk to anybody. I think it'd be a really successful podcast if we get the right guests and we have good quality discussions and we have the right studio set up. Like, I think we can really take it all the way, but it can't be limited by a branding of it in any type of way. Robin right here, 49.70. Let me check $50 resistance and see if we can get there as well. Everyone's portfolio should be up today. I mean, people should be doing nicely. My portfolio is not looking as egregious as it was yesterday. Robinhood $50 resistance is 6,000 shares, dude. That's nothing. That is nothing. We get more volume, we're going to get those 6,000 shares. We are not naming it the Daily Cowbell. We're not naming it that. That was a good show when we had it at the time. Amit, you know when Hood is going to have its own prediction platform? I remember Vlad was talking about it. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. I think a lot of what Vlad is talking about are long-term goals, and people are thinking they're going to happen overnight. I think it's going to take time. So I think over the next couple of years, the whole real estate, tokenized assets, prediction platforms that he's talking about will happen. But we got to give them time. I mean, these are really hard things to build. And I just finally got the realized profit and loss feature on my Robinhood app yesterday. I was so happy. I finally got the freaking realized P&Ls, and I can actually see how much profit I've been making. So without having to calculate it myself. So I think it's going to take time, but eventually when they come out with it, it's going to be a world-class product. But they're probably going to do it right before they take it out. I saw someone in here say uncensored with Amit, and I like it. Yeah, I don't hate that either. I think the with Amit is not a horrible back tag. We just got to figure out that first word and see if it makes sense. Someone said Virgin Weekly. See, that's just mean. Like, that's just aggressively mean. That's just way too mean. Will the soundboard be used? Maybe, dude. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe we bring the... I haven't used a soundboard in a while, dude. I just forget that we have the soundboard. Like, I just forget. I got to make more jokes to be able to hit the soundboard a bit better. We got to get some new sounds in this thing too, bro. We got to get some new sounds, like some sounds that we could play more often, because as of now we have some more basic sounds. So we got to get the Steve one, bro. The Steve one. Remember that Steve sound where he was like squealing or something? Like that sound would be a hilarious sound to just have randomly on the soundboard. All right, let's get an update from CNBC, and then we will keep going from there and see what other headlines we've got going on right now.
Done lately, right?
Yeah, it does. And I think in this cycle, or at least the past year or so, we have seen different shorter term time periods where yields are keying off of inflation to a much greater degree and are keying off growth, both on the upside and the downside. I think this move down in yields is much more reflective of concerns about growth, not reflective of some thought that we're going to see a re-rolling over in inflation on the downside. And that's part of the reason why you've seen this shift, notwithstanding today, to more defensive areas from a market perspective.
Let's hear from Josh Brown. He was on yesterday. Didn't get a chance to listen from him. Let's see what he's thinking about current state of the market and some of these stocks that he likes.
Now, tell us more.
So I want to be clear what I mean by that. The actual best chart in the S&P right now is Altria. If you look at PM, but that thing is, you missed it. It went vertical. It looks like the Empire State Building. RSI is in the 80s. It's the most overbought name on my list. This is the one that could do that. Not saying will. Starbucks right now has an incredible setup. Obviously, I like the fundamentals here, but just purely from a technical standpoint, this thing looks coiled, and I think the next move is a break above. Patty, give me that 3-year chart. Guys, look at this. Back in May of 2023, which is almost 2 full years ago, is when this chart peaked out, and it peaked below the prior highs set back in 2021. It failed. It spent almost 2 full years consolidating. Now we could be off to the races. The stock is up 24% year to date. It is the 6th best performing stock in the S&P 500 this year. Just reported a kitchen sink quarter. It's actually it's up in a tape where the XLY is negative on the year. It's 10% below all-time highs. There's no real resistance here once it breaks 114, all the way up to like 125, 126. That should be the next.
Are you guys buying it? Starbucks, is that the play for 2025?
Next stop, and then maybe it needs some time before it can break above there. One of the crucial problems with the stock, in addition to what you all already know, is the China overhang. They are getting beaten up by Luckin and other local chains in China. There's a catalyst on the horizon where, and executives have just flown to China recently to try to figure out a sale. They're going to sell a big chunk of this to a local Chinese operator, big company in China. And I think that should alleviate some of the stress of those sales declining in their second biggest market. And if that's the catalyst, so be it. But
I think the Starbucks run from 70 to 115 already happened. So it's a little skeptical getting in now, especially with that China risk. But the time to buy it was when sentiment was disgusting. At 70, they got the new CEO, had a run. And that's why you saw Starbucks now getting close to 52-week highs. Robinhood, I think we hit 50. I think we hit it. Did we hit it? I think we got very close and hit it. Yeah, we hit 50. We hit 50 on the dot, then got right rejected. There you go. Back to 50 on Hood. Really great strength. That is incredible. Tesla's still not out of the doghouse at 298. Rocket Lab up 4.2%, but Robinhood looks like it wants to get back to 50. Maybe 50 is going to be $50 support, as Jason has been saying for the majority of the year. Nvidia as well, trying to get back to 132. Getting ready to get into earnings. I like Nvidia below 140 before earnings versus above that, so I think that's nice. AppLovin still down 15%. Bit of a recovery from 288. Google still flat. HIMS was up 11%. Now it's up 8%. SMCI giving up from 22% to 19%. Alibaba still up 5%. Meta is gapping up here 3%. And then Palantir holding on to 89.50, just below that $90 range that we've been at. It's not bad. It's a nice little reversal before Nvidia. It's a nice little reversal before Nvidia reports later today. HIMS is at 43.08. HIMS was at 44.62. I can check some resistance for 45 on HIMS. But there's not really any massive walls. 45. Yeah, there's nothing. There's like at 45, there's like 20,000 shares. So this is more so people selling versus like a wall stopping it from going higher. But still a nice reversal up 8%. And then Robinhood right here, 8.5%. Where's Grab? Are we holding on to 5% for Grab? We are. Wow, 6%. All right, cool. A nice close above 484 would be nice. Really, a close above 490 would be spectacular, but let's see if we can get there. Grab right here, up 6% of the day, 9.85 million shares of volume. And the Q's back up 1% here right now as well. All right, not bad at all. Dude, you guys have a lot of names, bro. Goodness. I better pick a good name. You guys have so many of these names. I didn't even think you guys would have these many ideas. I haven't really spent time thinking about it. I feel like the name doesn't matter for the first couple of guests, but like after like the 5th or 7th guest, like, yeah, then we probably should have like an official name for it. But eventually we got to figure this out. Master debater. The thing is, I don't think it's going to be like a debate show or anything like that. Like maybe I'll challenge ideas here and there on with certain topics, but for the most part, it's not really trying to debate. I just really want to I really want to be able to have 3 to 4 hour discussions with people and get something really good out of them. And there's an art to doing it. It's not easy. Like even with Brett from Figure, I think it was a good podcast. I don't think it was a great podcast. I think there were certain moments where I could have been like a lot better in extracting value. After the like 4th listen, I think it's a decent podcast. I just think there's different levels of skill when it comes to like really producing a real good discussion. And that's why Joe Rogan is who he is. But it takes time, and you have to have so much diversity of guests and be able to handle different situations. And sometimes guests say some crazy stuff. How are you going to react to that? Like there's just like, and the thing about Rogan, I know he gets a bad rap from a lot of people on the left, but the one thing about him is I think he's willing to talk to anyone. And as a result of that, people want to talk to him because he's just a bit more unbiased when he approaches a new idea, even if he has his own biases. And I think that is also really hard to maintain as a podcaster. But if you can do it, you can attract a lot of people. Word of the day podcast. Dude, that'd be funny at the end of every show if we do a word of the day. Words of the day. Yes. Words of the day. All right, cool. I think we're done for today, guys. Nvidia 345. That'll be the big one. That'll be important. Nvidia 131. I'm like nervous, but I'm also not nervous. I think we'll be okay. I think we've sold off enough in the market for us to not be at all-time highs. Like the fact that Palantir's not at 125 going into Nvidia earnings, probably better than if it was really at all-time highs. Same thing with Nvidia. It's good that we're not at 150, we're at 132. But Jensen's got to deliver. He's got to deliver. Also, the call is going to be really boring for those that tune into the call. The first 45 minutes of the call are incredibly boring. They go through all the financials and they basically read off a PowerPoint. And because NVIDIA has so many financials, it's like you're just waiting until they get to Q&A. And their mics usually suck. I don't know if they're going to change that, but their mic ends up being horrible. So it's just like a crappy call until you get into Q&A. So if you miss the first 45 minutes of it, it's okay. But once we get into Q&A, that's where the market is going to move aggressively based on whatever Jensen says. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out later today. SMCI will skyrocket if NVIDIA delivers. Yeah, I think that is also a possibility of what we're going to see. I still like the chat after hours. I like the name, but the podcast is, I don't know. It's not really a chat, or it's not really related to the chat. I feel like after hours also is after hours is more so a name of like people know you already and you're doing something in addition. This is going to be people being introduced to who is Amit for the first time, right? And that's where it's going to be like, you know, is there a brand that isolates people, or is that is there a very basic brand, which to be honest is just my name, that gets people to be excited about the show, you know? Let me ask you guys another question. Here's another question I have. All right, so let's end on this. I actually want to get people's take on this because I've been thinking about it for the past couple of days, and I just don't know if people would actually care about it. So let me put this out here. We do the market open and we do the market close every day, which is great, and I love it. And you know, I'm gonna be doing it till the day I die, and no plans on stopping. And I like the live component of it. Is there a world where you guys would want a 20-minute recap of everything we talked about on the market open and market close as a separate YouTube video posted on the channel every day? That would not be clipping the market open, market close together. It would be me re-recording probably at like 8 p.m. every day, everything that happened throughout the day. And that would be in 20 minutes or less. So these shows are like 3 hours, right? That would be a 20-minute recap of what happened in the markets, the most important stuff, because we talk about probably 15 to 20 topics between the market open, market close. Is there a world where people want a 15 to 20-minute time-stamped recap of everything that happened as a separate video in case you don't want the full market open, market close? Kind of like a daily briefing. Because I've been thinking about it and I'm like, is that something people would want? Because I know a lot of people, the reason I got inspired, I'll put a poll in the chat. The reason I got inspired for this, because I saw a lot of comments over the past couple of weeks of just like, dude, the market open, market close is too long. Like I can't watch the whole thing, which I get. So if a recap of that, super short, that gives people the ability to kind of benefit from it. Is that something people like? Also, sometimes, you know, people already skip to the chapters inside of the market open, market close, and they get those certain parts. Would they just want something consolidated? Because I wouldn't want to make it long, dude. I would want to make it max 15 minutes, to be honest, because it would be more work on my part to re-record a brand new thing about just what happened throughout the day. I kind of already do this on Twitter, bro. You guys have been seeing this. I do a daily recap every day. That's another reason I got inspired for it. I do this every single day. I do a daily recap and this takes me an hour to do every day. This is not easy, but it takes me an hour and I get it done. And it's 12 different things that happen throughout the day. I mean, theoretically, even making a video version of this post, which people tend to like this post because it's something they can read at the end of the day. I don't know. I don't think it's horrible. But if I do it, I actually want people to care about it. So let's do a poll. 15 to 20 minute market recap at the end of the day posted on main channel. Let's see. I only want to do it if people actually really care about it. If you watch the market open, market close, you're probably not gonna care about it. Yeah, a lot of you guys like the X daily recap, right? Like, so I was like, if we just make this X daily recap into a video, it's gonna add another 30 minutes of work a day, but it's not like it's, you know, another 2-3 hours. It's not gonna be the most well-produced video. It's just gonna be me in front of the camera kind of talking about these things. Maybe I'll give my opinion on something. Like, look, like on this thing, we talked about SMCI, Grab, Trump, Fear and Greed, Bank of America, housing sales, Palantir, Tesla, MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, Robinhood, Rocket Lab. This is why I think people like reading it every day, because there's just a good diversity of updates. The question is, would people want that in video? Wow, 73% of you said yes, huh? Interesting. I thought it would be more 50-50. Huh. Interesting. X recap as a video is 5 to 10 minutes. I think, dude, given my verbose nature, there's no way it's going to be less than 10 minutes. It's going to be at least 10 minutes, if not 15. I think 15 would be my hard cutoff, but there's no way I could do 5 minutes. I just talk too much, dude. Make the market open longer. Yeah. Why don't we do the market open for 8 hours? Why don't we just go the whole day? That'll solve everything, right? Yeah, it's self-awareness, dude. Like I know I can't talk for 5 minutes. I know I'm gonna end up talking and just like it's gonna be 15 minutes, but Midspace is like, what did I just get myself into? Dude, I've been thinking about it for a while. I've been thinking about because right now the main video posted every single day, which it hasn't been every single day because it's just been impossible to do it every single day, has been a daily Palantir update, which is not really daily Palantir. It's more like weekly Palantir. And also Palantir has not had that much news every single day to like daily Palantir was a thing in 2023 when there was so much news and the stock was in the gutter and like you just had to cover all the news. The stock's not in the gutter anymore, which is why there's not that much news. Palantir has not even released a new freaking a press release all year. Their last press release was their earnings, right? They haven't even released. So it's like they're not even taking the time to release that many press releases because they don't need to. They're a more mature company, right? They don't need to constantly say, hey, look at all the stuff we're doing. So I think part of this show would have a Palantir segment for like, I don't know, 10 minutes, but probably 2 to 4 minutes every day, maybe less than that. Maybe it would be 2 minutes, maybe it'd be 1 minute, but it would kind of like bullet point everything else that's happening. And it would actually be a show that could happen every single day. And I think that would give people the Palantir stuff they're looking for, but a lot of other stuff because there's just not enough Palantir stuff every day anymore. Like, it's just like, the company's not a mystery anymore. It's a company that it was an enigma 2 years ago. That's why you needed 2,000 videos on the channel to try to break through the enigma. Palantir Weekly does a really good job breaking it down every single week, and I think people really enjoy having that one weekly source they can go to for Palantir content. But every single day, there's just not enough updates on Palantir, and it makes sense. They're growing, right? They don't need to have updates every single day. So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, hey, what if we have a 15 to 20 minute recap? It would be more work for me, but I do these market opens every single day and I don't miss a single day unless I get sick. So if I really get into it and I make it part of my daily routine, I'm not going to miss it. It's going to be one of those things that I just like those Twitter recaps. I missed the past week because I was sick, but like we've done it for the past 2 months consistently. And I think, no, not past 2 months, past 3 months. We started it in end of November. So if it becomes a routine, it becomes a routine. Chris says, call him. Chris is in the chat. All right, let's call Chris. We were going to end the stream, but we got Chris. Let's see what Chris has to say. Dude, if I get the studio in New Jersey as well, I mean, like, Chris would be down to do a podcast as well. It's just a question of, like, if we can make that whole thing happen. Chris, what's up? Good morning.
Good morning. I should have just asked for a StreamYard. It might have been easier, but whatever.
Do you want me to send it right now, or you want to do this?
Yeah, just send me a StreamYard. Actually, might be easier.
Okay, let's do that. The market open continues. If you thought you were going to leave, no. You've been held hostage by Chris Patel, who probably is going to talk about SMCI, is my best guess. But yeah, do you guys think it's a good idea? Like, honestly, 76% of you say yes out of 750 votes. I mean, that's way more than 50-50. I don't think it's a horrible idea, bro. There is no way Mick can only talk for 10 minutes, folks. It's not happening. It would be more work, though, bro. It would definitely it would definitely be more work. You got to get a good thumbnail, all that stuff. It would add to the workflow, but I would be down to do it. If like it's a legit recap every single day that people, even if you watch the market open, even if you want to just like get a regurgitation of what happened in those 10 minutes. I don't know. I don't think it's the worst idea. It's a lot of work, though. But it wouldn't be the worst idea. Chris, what's up?
Oh, nothing much, man. I was just listening to your tirade for the last hour about starting a pod, and I'm like, bro, go for it. You've got the skills to do it. You know, you can talk endlessly for hours on end about absolutely nothing, and you're perfect.
That was a compliment and not a compliment at the same time, which I love. I love.
Yeah. I mean, everyone else suggested names, so let me suggest mine. Since you always keep talking about it, you call it the catalyst, right? Because you're always looking for that one catalyst that makes stocks go higher. Any ideas or breakthroughs that make things go higher. So, you know.
Wait, the catalyst for the like sit down podcast or for like the Daily Show recap that I'm thinking?
No, the sit down, right? So think about it. You could do the catalyst and talk about basically like new ideas and like what could send this thing to the moon or what idea could happen. So it's basically an idea generation thing, you know?
Yeah, and it makes sense too because like there's always a catalyst across an idea when you have a certain person, right? It doesn't have to just be a founder or a business executive or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So
dude, what we really have to do is you, me, and Steve start our version of the Compound and Friends. I think that shit would go viral.
Like an in-person one? Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to fly from Georgia every week. We would have to figure out how the wifey would be okay with it. If I have the studio in Jersey, Steve would easily make it happen. I think that would be fun.
I think I'm probably like a year away from just quitting my job, like full-time job, and just doing just living off my portfolio gains. And and probably do some businesses on the side. And if I can do a deduction and write it off, then yeah, why not?
I think that would be fun. I also think you should move back to New York, where you're from, and that would be really. Oh, tell everybody you've been trying to buy a house. Tell everybody that process. What's that been like in Georgia?
Okay, so buying a house, and it's not just Georgia. Anywhere right now, it sucks. Okay, there's a lot of houses that are coming on the market, but there's very few that like me and my wife like have really liked. And we put in an offer, and let me tell you, every time we put in an offer at asking, we always get outbid by cash buyers. Like it's crazy the amount of money people have to just do a freaking cash offer. It's
And
like
it's wild because we're seeing a bear market in housing, but like not really, right?
So I think what it is you're seeing these pockets of like great places, and then other places that are not so good. So if you're trying to buy in like such not so good area, then you probably get a really good deal and you're getting some price reductions here and there. But if you're trying to buy like in a good school district, which I think the cat is out of the bag now. Like I feel like 20, 30 years ago, that didn't matter nearly as much. Now, literally every like, and it's, you know what? I'm going to say it. White people, they look for good school districts. Okay. And white people, they just outbid you. Like they have generational wealth. Like the school district that I want to move to is predominantly white because the school district is really good, right? And everyone there, so everyone's just competing against that one or two or three school districts that are good in the metro Atlanta area. And everyone else is just kind of like, no, I don't want to send my kid to public school. I'll send my kid to private school or whatever. And so it's created this like
and that's one of the only good public school districts essentially in the area.
Pretty much, you know.
Wait, so how much did they outbid you by? Like 50,000, 100,000, like
75K. I put in a backup offer just as a like, if it happens, it happens. Like, so basically what happens is the sellers can, allow for a backup bid. So if you put in a backup bid, if the first one falls through, then you're like next in line. The challenge with that is that they're a cash buyer, so there's very little chance that they're gonna like find something that they don't like during like their due diligence period.
Yeah.
Usually people that drop out of contention when it comes to homes, typically they'll drop out because like let's say appraisals will come lower than they expected. So like let's say you could have a great house, but if the inspector comes around and the appraisal comes in at a much lower price than what you're offering, now either you got to come up with that difference or the buyers drop out. Now I've seen a lot of buyers drop out too, but these guys are going in all cash, bro. I'm telling you, who puts down 800,000 cash? I mean, they probably sold
aggressive, bro. That's like they've been hoarding that money for a while, right?
I mean,
like this moment.
So to me, when I look at this scenario, I'm like, does everyone freaking buy the Nvda dip? Like, what the fuck happened? So my thinking right now is just like, it's more than likely that they probably sold their previous home and now they're just loaded up with cash. So they're going to put down everything in cash, and then they'll get financing later on. So you could always mortgage the property later. So,
Dude, why don't you freaking convince the wife to move back to New York City? Or
nah,
to Jersey?
man, I don't
Like,
want to.
come back
I
to
love Georgia.
Jersey. I know the taxes are gonna suck, but you'll be happier inside of the city, not in Georgia. Like,
Nah, I love Georgia, man. If you've ever, once you escape the New York metro area, you'll realize, bro, that there's a much better world out there. And I grew up my entire life in New York, so I've 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 been jaded by everything that happens in New York. All the restriction from travel, all the high taxes when it comes to property taxes, state and local taxes. Like, I'm good.
yeah,
I'm
but
good.
okay, so what if we legit start a podcast and you have a real career in finance media?
I'll
And I
fly.
mean,
I
like,
don't care. I'll fly. All right. I am not living in New York anymore. I'm done. Like, that chapter of my life is closed. Like, I will fly every week. And it's not, believe it or not, it's not that like bad of a flight from like New York to EWR. Yeah. I mean, not New
yeah.
York, it's ATL to EWR. It's literally like an hour and a half. So if it means a couple of days, dude, I'll just fly and call it a day. Not a big deal to me.
All right, what do you think about SMCI? Did you officially take all your profits, or you're holding
No,
on?
no, no, no. I'm letting it. So I have, me, I pretty much do like a spread strategy, right? So my spread right now for SMCI, a lot of my position is between $50 and $90 and $95, like that are short duration. So these are like expiring in May and June, right? The reason why I did that was because if they were to ask for an expiration, like an extension, that's the length that they would have gone for. Now the thing is, they filed and the stock is up, but it's not like running to $100 like everyone was expecting, right? Maybe it's because of the Nvda like earnings, which people are waiting on to see like what direction the AI spend is happening. That could be one reason. But what's beneficial for me right now is because of the lack of huge moves to the upside outside of this 20%, it's not riding to 75 tomorrow, is that the $90 call option and the 95s that I have that are expiring in June and May, those are somewhat muted in terms of like total return. So now the theta decay is working in my favor, whereas my $50 and $60 calls, those are like up nicely today, you know?
Yeah.
So the thing is, whenever it comes to these options, especially shorter dated contracts, there's huge amounts of theta decay, especially after a period of a ton of volatility. So right now, everyone was buying this $90 one, and I was the one selling it to them. And now, like the price is it's still higher than what I sold it to them for, but it's coming down really fast right now.
So the reversal we're seeing today, I mean, it's not a crazy reversal, but we do have some green. Do you think this is just a bounce that has to happen after 2 days of red, or this is actually indicative of a end to the red trend we saw the past 2 days?
No, I mean, I think we're in the process of bottoming, depending on what kind of news we're going to get. And Nvidia is definitely like the catalyst for the market to either go higher, flat, or down, right? So the world is literally right now, we're riding on, well, not the entire stock market, but if you're in like any of the AI names and big tech names, you're riding on what Nvidia says. So imagine right now, Nvidia comes out and says, you know what, we're going to have more delays in Blackwell, or we didn't get enough orders. Boom. Now all of a sudden everyone's like, oh my God, the AI trade is dead. And then people will start dumping a lot of things that are AI related, you know?
Yeah.
So if let's say they come out and said that we have more demand than we know what to do with, that's a catalyst for everything going higher, right? So Microsoft really screwed the pooch a little bit for us because the news that they came out with, which was they don't like. Did you see the thing with Satya Nadella? He did an interview with that guy.
Yeah, he said if we don't get 10% GDP growth, all this AI stuff is bullshit, basically.
Yeah, his basic thesis was we're putting all this money towards AI and we're not seeing the value generation portion of it. And the thing is, eventually people will scale back if they don't see the value. Now, in my opinion, I think that's the wrong way of thinking about it. I think AI is still in its infancy and there's tons of value to be generated. His argument is, why isn't there an AI bubble? And I'm like, bro, that's good. You don't want an AI bubble,
Yeah.
where people are like going like the year 2000, where people just throwing money at things that are not generating value. Like, people are a lot more discerning with the software that they're coming up with. And I do feel to some degree that this was Microsoft being just a hater on OpenAI and being like, you cheated on me with SoftBank and Oracle, trying to like screw over everything.
Yeah, I think I it's funny because Nadella saying that is not the best for Microsoft stock either, right? So he's kind of shooting himself in the foot, but I do think he's annoyed at OpenAI.
Dude, he's behind the 8 ball because their entire AI strategy was based on OpenAI like taking them, to the distance. And OpenAI is kind of just, sat there and said, well, you know what, Microsoft is great and we love them, but we kind of can do things on our own. And that's where it's like, what? So that's what's happening. Google, on the other hand, in my opinion, is just on like this like run of dominating in terms of products. Dude, all the news that I'm seeing about Google and AI, their AI cloud, dude, they are just on it. Now the market hasn't recognized the value of that yet, which is fine. People are looking at Google and maybe they're thinking that their business overall is going to be disrupted. Then you got like Perplexity coming out saying that they're going to do their own browser that'll compete with Google. To me, I see.
Oh yeah, that's another reason it could be down. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So a lot of the news around Google is that Google is kind of being disrupted, and I don't see that happening at all. I see the opposite happening, where GCP and Google Cloud are actually dominating the market, and they have some of the best margins out there. And I think the next few earnings hopefully will kind of highlight that in Google's favor. Maybe Q1 will be a little bit weak because they actually said, that there's just some material weakness in terms of like total number of days compared to last year. But after that, I think Google should prove itself out to be a really, really big player in this. And I think if you don't have Google and you're bullish on AI, I think that's a big mistake. So I think diversifying yourself, buying the great companies in there that are going to generate a ton of value from AI, it's Google's one of them. Did you by any chance look at go to Google and just type in AI cloud, what is that thing called? Damn it, I put it on my Discord. But basically, if you look at the amount of value that's going to be generated on an annualized basis, AI cloud features are catering at almost 30-40% for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you look at right now, total AI cloud spend is about, I think, $80 billion to $100 billion a year, like total among all the hyperscalers and everything else. Eventually, you're looking at $3 to $4 trillion of AI cloud spend in the next, like, probably 5 to 10 years. Now, if you're able to capture 30-40% of that market share, which is what Google is spending so much money on developing that AI infrastructure, then that could be huge. Now, people will ask, where would we see that? Well, I mean, if you think about autonomous cars, guess what? That's AI. You look at robots, that's AI. Every facet of our life is going to be touched by some level of artificial intelligence being integrated into it. If you look at the new generations of phones, they're going to be, smartphones with AI features in them. Like, I don't see a world where AI doesn't revolutionize so many things. I mean, I work in medicine right now, and I personally, we have AI tools and applications that we use, right? That basically assist in doing things. So as an example, I'll give you an example of something like our radiologists right now. We've had to literally went on downtime like 3 or 4 times because we're integrating all these new softwares. Basically, what it does is it actually will read the X-ray, CTs, the MRIs, whatever. It'll get put through an AI algorithm, and the radiologist will now have like a co-pilot where basically as they're reading, they'll actually have all the stuff available to them that actually will do all the readout, where actually it'll figure out like what's going on. And then also, if let's say the radiologist is about to sign off and the AI had detected like a lump or something, it'll be like, oh, are you sure? Did you miss this thing? And then the radiologist will be like, oh, wait a second, no, I didn't miss that. Like, and now it's all of a sudden the radiologist will be able to do it. So it's not necessarily replacing people, because I think that's what a lot of people think, but I think it's more like augmenting already existing functions that we're all doing and just making them more easier to use, and then at the same time raising the productivity up. Like, here's an example of something that's AI that that I don't know if people realize. I'm talking right now from my MacBook. There's a feature on your MacBook. I don't know if you go to it. I mean, if you go to the mic, you can do voice isolation.
Oh
Right?
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you could do voice
So
isolation,
that's
and
why your
it
voice
sounds
sounds so good. Huh.
yeah, and it sounds really crispy. It sounds really good. Now the thing is, it's not probably not just straight AI, but there are so many applications that I'm sure that AI is going to be utilizing things like this that are just going to be happening in the background to clean things up. Like imagine right now you're talking over the phone, you know, with somebody, and the what is that thing called? The conversation is muddled up because of like the signal strength is not that good. Well, AI could probably fill in the blanks, right? And actually make the conversation sound much better. You know, these
Well,
are
speaking of AI, dude. I mean, let's break this right here. We got a new figure video that just dropped. We can watch this together. Here's more applications of AI. So let's see what they have here. Okay, so these are robots that are, looks like handling packages. Yeah, it looks like packages. So, I mean, like, it looks like they're signaling that whatever Amazon workers do, post office workers do, that's what they're trying to come after next. Wow. Again, these are real jobs that humans do right now that we're seeing in front of us. Robots will take over.
You should probably mute the audio, otherwise you're gonna get demonetized.
I hope they don't demonetize with that audio. But
well, here's one thing. I think some of the people are like, well, what about this thing will replace jobs, right? And I'm like, well, not necessarily replace, but imagine right now you're able to at least do the first part of sorting by the robots, right? And like things that are missed, then it could be something else. The other thing is, this thing can be programmed to do a lot of stuff. It doesn't have to just do sorting. So the thing is, now if Amazon is ordering stuff, they're not ordering a sorting robot. They're ordering a robot, which then they program to do sorting, to lift things, to move things around. So it could be job title agnostic, right? In which case now all you're really doing is just training it to do something else. Like right now, imagine you don't need it to do sorting anymore right now because you don't have enough throughput. Well, you know what? You can repurpose all of these things in the loading dock to load boxes, right? And it doesn't have any specified task. That's, I think, the key to a lot of these humanoid robot features.
yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. Brett says in the last 30 days, we've used Helix to accelerate figure robots into our second customer focus on high package logistics. Now we're running robots fully autonomously with a single end-to-end neural network. Beyond improving Helix, we've been making our AI work seamlessly across our robot fleet. To solve cross-robot transfer, we built a visual proprioception model. Now robots can look at their own arms and hands using head cameras to self-calibrate. I mean, like, this shit's coming, bro. And Google, Nvda, all are the hyperscalers are going to be the beneficiaries of this stuff when it comes. I think.
I mean, did you see the Palmer Luckey interview with Sean Ryan? I think one of the things that Palmer was talking about also was he's excited to see, like, because there's like the U.S. military now has all this hardware, right? And you know, a lot of people are saying, well, you could just build from the ground up, like AI features on. Yeah, but what about all the existing things that we have, like cars, you know, Humvees, tanks, all that stuff? Well, what if you could just take a robot, train it to drive? Boom, there you go. Now all of a sudden you just became a smart, you know, like a what is it called? Like an AI driven automobile or something, you know? So I think we are going to transition, and I think more and more bots are definitely going to come around. I'm hoping that this is not one of those like, oh, we'll just hire robots and fire everyone. Like, no, I think it's just going to be like they're going to work with us together to basically make life easier and better. Like, I don't know if you saw the video of the Chinese people. They're using drones in China to basically transport fruit between the fields and like a waiting station. Now, what does that do? That just means that now the guys that are like picking the fruit, they don't have to walk back and forth to to like the area where they're collecting points. All they're doing right now is just off the tree, picking up what they need, putting it in like a basket. The drone picks it up, takes it to their truck, and now you have this huge productivity gain from a tool that wasn't available 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So that's a huge multiplier. Now imagine you had like
you don't think it's going to be like Terminator anymore?
I mean, it could be if people are stupid and put like, like artificial general intelligence in there. I mean, there's already robots attacking people. Did you see that in China?
Yeah, I saw. It was
You know what I'm saying? Like that
right?
dude, and we have this innate ability to fuck with shit. I saw like this Kaisenet was doing his stream, right? He set up, he bought one of these robots. I think it was like that $16,000 robot from China. And within like 5 minutes, this dude was kicking the robot, like, oh, let's fuck with it and let's kick it. And you could visibly see the robot just like falling over and getting up and falling down again. And I'm like, bro, that robot is getting pissed, bro. Eventually, if someone puts AI in it, and it's like, how come this thing is kicking me? Wait a second. If someone kicks you, you should kick them back. And the robot is gonna kick someone in the teeth, bro, and just knock out a few molars, man.
Dude, no, but that's the whole point of artificial general intelligence, which is that if the robots come to the conclusion, like a regular human would, which is that, hey, if someone punches me, I should like defend myself. I mean,
bro, imagine your sex robot ends up getting jealous and starts to try to kill your husband or some shit like that. That'll be bad. Like that's the real problem, because people are gonna fall in love with these robots and then like break up with them, and then the robot's gonna get pissed off. I mean, bro, it's gonna be Jerry Springer times 10.
Oh my gosh, dude, it's gonna be wild.
Yeah,
all right, well, all right, so what, dude? Last question: what's your gut feeling? Nvidia, we pump or dump today? What do you think?
I think we pump, man. Blackwell demand is just through the roof from what I can see from what everyone is talking about. I don't think that there's a lot of like negative news, man. Everything that I'm seeing is
Me either, bro. Me either. It's all sentiment driven right now. There's not actual news that's negative on Nvidia.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm pretty long on Nvidia's Blackwell architecture, because the other thing that I was reading also was the usefulness of these GPUs, right? So what's happening is like every concurrent generation, there's so much more output of power, like output and efficiency, that it almost makes people want to buy more. They can't just say, you know what, I've got all of these GPUs from 2 years ago and I can just use those. Like, no, like the next generation is so much ahead of the existing infrastructure that now people have to upgrade.
Yeah.
Because it's just a huge multiplier in total efficiency. So these are the kinds of things I'm just like, oh, you know what? And NVIDIA's figured it out, and we'll see what happens.
All right. I will talk to you after these NVIDIA earnings, and hopefully it pumps up SMCI, dude.
Yeah, I hope so, man. We'll see. Hey, here's a question, and maybe you could use your connects to figure this out. Who is going to be the prime contractor that helps develop the next version of ATC? The one thing I've been noticing is, with all these planes, like people crashing and fucking.
Oh, dude, it's been pretty bad. What has been going on with planes the past couple of weeks. So while Kris is talking, I'm going to show you guys a video yesterday that some of you guys might have not seen in, I think this was Chicago, where two planes, look at this, they almost crashed into each other. It was just insane.
Yeah. I got to find out who is going to be working on software that can upgrade things to not let things like this happen, because the value of that in the future could be huge, and it doesn't have to be a huge contractor that does it. I mean, look at that shit.
Look at that, dude. He's about to land. The thing is almost touching the ground. He sees another plane and he's like, nope, let me go right back up. Like, that's scary, bro.
Well,
that is scary.
I was watching like a video that basically described what happened. That smaller plane was supposed to stop and let the plane land, because there's a taxiway that cuts through the strip, right? So that pilot on the other one didn't understand where the stop was, or the signage wasn't clear, and so he just went through, right? The thing that everyone is saying, like, well, why didn't he freaking look out the window and to the right and see that there's a fucking plane coming? You know, it's like imagine that you're driving and you're like, oh, I don't have to fucking look on the right side of the mirror. Like, no, look. Make sure you fucking before you go into an intersection, you're looking if someone's coming, like incoming. You know.
Yeah, dude, dude, like I'm not gonna lie, bro. When I was on the plane to California last week, there was definitely a little bit of hesitation because I was just like, you keep seeing all these stories and like you never know, right? So it is a little scary to get on flights. You've been on so many flights though your whole life, but I would imagine it's still kind of scary.
Yeah, dude. The one thing that always scares me is I'll get on a plane and I'll look outside and the plane will have like speed, like something called speed tape. I'm like, no, please, God, I hope this fucking wing stays on.
Yeah, I saw a joke about it. People are saying it's duct tape, but it's not actually duct tape.
Yeah, no, it's like some kind of special tape, but the fucking thing looks like just like duct tape. And I'm just like, bro, I'm on duct tape airlines this week. This is bad, you know.
It has always shocked me that we get into this thing, we go into the sky, and then we come back safely. And you know, there's very minimal crashes compared to how many successful flights there are every day, but still, it's like you don't want.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, hopefully everything works out well. I think, dude, this tenure just keeps coming down, which is great for us. And I think that play that we have on Newbank, I don't know. Did you get into it?
I didn't buy it yet. I'm still looking at it, but I know you're loaded up a lot on Newbank.
Yeah, that was like the reversal is actually happening really nicely. It's coming back down just a little bit to earth right this second, but yeah, it's a good place to be if you're bullish on the 10-year. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, good stuff, Kris. All the best of luck on Nvidia. We're gonna need it, everybody.
All right, take care, man. Good luck.
Yep. Talk tomorrow. Bye. All right, cool. Kept you guys hostage for another 30 minutes, but now we will end out the show. All right, a lot of you guys said yes on this recap idea. If I do it, it'll start next week on Monday. It won't start this week. Probably have a couple of Daily Pound Tier episodes posted this week, and then we could do Daily Pound Tier and this at the same time. Like it would just, I gotta try to think in my mind how we do it. Maybe we incorporate Daily Pound Tier as a segment on this new 15 to 20 minute recap. But 81% of you out of 1,600 votes said yes. So at least I think that's worth giving it a try. And if we don't like it, we don't like it. We don't have to keep doing it. I just think I'm recapping the market every day already on Twitter. So it's like making that into a video is not the hardest thing in the world. And I kind of people enjoy the recap because they like having everything in one place. I enjoy the recap as well because I'm covering the markets every day. Like this is my life, right? So actually having everything all together in one spot, it's a good way for me to end out the day because then I can kind of understand what happened in the day. I have a broader understanding of how these points connect with what probably is on the docket tomorrow. And if you're in this business, it's just constant updates that you're trying to make sense of to be able to understand what's happening. Making a video version of that every night, I don't think is crazy either. So we'll see. Which comes first, the tweet or the video? I think it would happen at the same time. So like the tweet comes out at like 8 p.m. every day. Maybe we would do the video coming out on YouTube at 8 p.m. as well. I don't know. I think there's something there. I think we'll see. If I don't like it, we won't do it. But I think it's at least worth trying and seeing if that's a good way to recap everything in the morning. But now we need a name for that show, right? Now we need a name for the daily recap. Like some of your guys' ideas here could actually work for the daily, like the recap. Some of you guys could refer, so like the bricks and all this stuff. Like I think that could actually be a legit name for the recap, if not for the podcast. But we just have to figure out what name works best on that one. So I think we're going to do it. I think we will do it. I meant more from a creative perspective. One will help you create the other. Yeah, that's true. I mean, doing both at the same time definitely will help figure out the best topics to cover in these points in these recaps as well, especially because I only do 12 bullet points a day. So it kind of limits the amount that'll happen. What happened to my portfolio? That could be the name of it. Something with daily in the title, I don't hate because it is a daily show. I don't know. We'll figure it out. we'll see what we have to do. After hours, I don't hate that version of it. It's at 8 p.m. every day. After hours, market open, market closed, after hours. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Probably next week. We'll try it out next week, see how it goes, see if I can actually keep up and be consistent with it every day, which I think I'll be able to. And then we'll go from there. All right, cool stuff. Figure podcast will be out this Friday, so I'll have that out on the new podcast. Again, you can subscribe to that new podcast. I'll link it right here again in the chat. Nvidia earnings will be here tonight. That's going to be a very important one. 3:45, I'll be live with Jose. And let's hope Nvidia crushes it. I mean, Nvidia's pumping right now, so as long as they continue, we'll be okay. Robinhood back above 50, Nvidia 132, SMCI 54, Grab at 485. If we get a close above 45 on Grab, that would be amazing. And then Palantir holding on to $90, trying to make its way to 91, $90.40 currently right now. All right, cool. Word of the day. What do we have on word of the day? This is an interesting one. Word of the day is decorticate.
Decorticate.
To remove the bark, husk, or outer covering form. The botany students learned how to decorticate a tree without damaging layers below the bark. The farmer bought a machine that quickly decorticates cottonseed. So it means remove, essentially. I guess I've never used this word before. I don't think I'll ever use this word, but if anyone uses this word before, then that's great. Hopefully, I don't know, Nvidia doesn't decorticate any part of their earnings where they remove the bark. I mean, look, Nvidia's a dog, and that dog has to have some bark in this fight. They've got to continue to show they can keep putting up the numbers. And hopefully they don't take off any of the earnings guidance that the street is expecting. Palantir right here, $90.40 again, trying to make its way back to 91. Robinhood still holding above 50. SMCI 54, 51. Tesla still below 300, not finding any support yet. Rocket Lab 21.22. They have earnings tomorrow. Salesforce and Snowflake is today as well. And then you got Palantir right here at $90.30. Nvidia will decorticate all the money from the market. Dude, I hope not. I really hope not. I really hope this works out, dude. We need Nvidia to do its thing. 3:45. We'll be live. I think it'll be good, but we will get the numbers in a few hours later today. All right, cool stuff. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys live 3:45 on the market close. We will get into what happens with Nvidia earnings. Bye, everyone. Have a good one. See you guys in a bit.